podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Here, we love talking about everything Batman. The BatmanUniverse.net has news, original content, and reviews about Batman comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and more. Check out the BatmanUniverse.net and join our Discord server to start chatting with fellow fans. We can't wait to talk to you guys. Also, visit our Patreon page and join our other awesome supporters. But enough of this nonsense. On with the show.
Gotham City, like any other large metropolis, abounds in girls of all shapes and sizes. Debutantes, nurses, stenographers, and librarians.
Gotham City Library, Miss Gordon speaking.
Lopez hair removal. This is Jose.
Holy transformation. 1 minute, plain Barbara Gordon, librarian and Commissioner Gordon's daughter. And the next minute, something new has been added. Batgirl, modeled after her idol, Batman.
Holy apparition! No, Boy Wonder, I'm Batgirl. You are no longer alone, Caped Crusader.
It took me 3 years to track down the Jade Gato, and 3 more to figure out how to steal it.
Funny, it only took me 10 minutes to figure out how to snatch it back. No matter how you do it, crime doesn't pay, girls.
Sawate Mihinomen S. Stella at Hawk S. Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 246 for May MMXXIV. Be sure to always have a designated driver, since my person, I think, is she's drinking some alcoholic beverage over there. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out MileHighComics.com. Well, we had to cancel the campaign for Don't Podcast Drunk, but here we are. I'm happy to welcome her back. It's been maybe a year, maybe more, I don't know. But it is the good Professor Carolyn Cocca, my chief Tata correspondent. Welcome back to Batgirl the Oracle.
I'm happy to be here. I did try to look up when the last time was we podcasted together, and it was the women.
Oh, sure.
Which was 1 year ago yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So my offshoot, Dear Reader, where, we had some disagreements on that particular one. Yes, but I still do enjoy that film, perhaps at the very least because of the cast, which is just amazing.
Sure.
So welcome. Well, I do want to carve out some space. Do you have anything you want to say to the people who listen? Maybe apologies since it's, your fault that this was delayed till May, and it wasn't last month that we were going to do this particular run.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize. That's what I'm going to do. No, it was just a particularly busy time for me work-wise, and I just could not manage it. But now it is the official end of the school year, end of the semester. We had our graduation yesterday, and so I just had more free time over the last week or so, and I packed it full of birds of prey.
Yes, you did. Well, we accept your very political skirting around the issue apology. But in all, obviously I do like to throw people under the bus, but I was just looking for an excuse not to do it because 5 issues is a long like arc to do. Typically 3 is like, great, we can get in there and get out, but yeah, it's kind of long. And for those who are visual listeners, I'm wearing my graduation regalia because I have officially earned my Master's of Education, which I can also add to my Bachelor's of Arts and Bachelor's of Science. And it was a rainy ceremony. My family came, which is great. The rain kind of tapered off and went a little bit on. And then just being on the lawn and amidst the rotunda and being able to process down was a lot of fun and got emotional a couple times because I really worked hard for this. So I'm very happy. And I actually met like 5 or 6 people in my program, which I wasn't sure because, it's online. But yeah, a couple people that I knew pretty well, just that we had classes before, and that made me super happy. Actually, my first partner in my first class who set the bar very high because all my other ones, save one, was for duds. And we chatted about that. And so that was a lot of fun. And then went to the arena, John Paul Jones Arena, for our educational specific ceremony and got to walk up on the stage and have my name pronounced correctly and all of that. So yes, so I'm very happy. I'll take this off because I said that thing is going to drive me nuts, but I did decorate a la Captain Marvel. I actually looked up the Palestinian flag because I'm like, it doesn't look anything like this, right? And it doesn't. But I was just worried that like someone would misinterpret what that actually was. But so here we are.
We had some students who were wearing scarves
Yes.
or
Yeah.
otherwise had something that was representative of Palestine.
Mhm.
No, there were no particular disruptions, vocal or otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, we on May 4th, which is ironic, May the 4th be with you, leading up to it, there was a small protest, and then against campus directives, they had set up tents. And so then it started to get more intense. So on Saturday, I kept getting texts from the university to stay away from the area. And then it was deemed an unlawful protest. And the police came and it got a little too big. So there was already, stuff that was going down. But it was interesting. This class, obviously, we had that happen. We had 3 football players that were killed a couple years ago on a bus. And then some of these students hadn't had a graduation since maybe like 8th grade because with COVID, it would have been their high school graduation. So the class of 2024, at least at UVA, has been through a lot. So, yep. Well, we're here to talk about many things, some fun, some not so fun. We'll have a long intro. So now we welcome hypocrites to the show. And so now you can be one of them because you complain about my long intros and you will now be a party to them. So first of all, you did have some things to say, not publicly, but via text to Donovan and me about our couples that we hate that we love. And I asked you if you could bring a couple that you hate that you love or a toxic couple to this show. Do you have an example of one that you would like to share with us?
I racked my brain over this because I don't tend to read that much romance, for instance. I'm not a huge rom-com person in terms of my movie watching. So I racked my brain and racked my brain. And I racked my brain all the way back to when I was in 6th grade. Okay. Now, this might only be pertinent for people who were around in 1980. But I got it. It's really a good one. So I present to you the book series that begins with Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews.
Oh boy. So you enjoy that couple, but you hate that you enjoy it.
Wait. So let me just preface it by saying that everybody was reading this book in 6th grade. it had come out. It had already sold a zillion copies, whatever. None of us really, I'm sure we missed plenty of stuff that was going on in this book, but it was like the talk of the town. And it was like copies being passed around from one person to another. But the general gist, and so then it produced 3 sequels over the next few years. It's been adapted. I haven't seen the adaptations, but it's been adapted a couple of times as well. But the basic gist is that these 2 people have 4 children. The father dies. The mother is running out of money, whatever, but she finds out that her rich father is supposed to die soon. So she brings the 4 kids back to her family home to try to get back into the guy's good graces, to her father's good graces, so she can inherit something. But somehow her mother is really mean or whatever and wants the kids to stay in the attic. And they're only supposed to be there a couple days, but they wind up being there for years. And so where it gets completely ridiculous is that the 2, and it's crazy, but the 2 older kids wind up in subsequent books basically being a married couple. And it kind of starts in the attic. They have this forbidden love for one another because they're thrown together in this ridiculous circumstance. So it's nuts, because the way that it's written, like through these 4 books, you're basically rooting for this brother and sister to be together. Like that's how it's being pitched at you, that they've been through this horrible thing that no one will ever understand except each other. And so that was what I thought of. Flowers in the attic, petals on the wind, if there be thorns and seeds of yesterday.
Oh, yeah. And Kiernan Shipka was in the reboot of it, which is Widow Draper. I know of this. I knew of this, I think, from like seeing an adaptation and be like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like romanticizing incest, what's happening? And then Tom Panarese will be loving this because he's mentioned it a couple times.
All right.
On required reading. We've talked about it. We just did a Smut episode and he like brought that up again. So I'm like, I know all about Flowers in the Attic. So, well, thank you for bringing this couple that you you and I are kindred spirits. I enjoyed the Step siblings.
Yes, I was very amused by your description of Step siblings. I believe that was the Kiss Me Until I'm 18.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, you betcha. And
yeah, I was completely amused by that. Where I had to get off your bus was when you were talking about slave owners, enslavers, people who owned other people and pretended they were property. I don't care if they have any romance. Nope.
Well, I didn't discuss. I said I don't condone it. It's just, Hollywood got to me. So
I guess I have to draw the line at teenage incest in an attic, and you have to draw it at people who think it's okay to own other people as property.
Sure, yes. Confederate love stories is a step too far, but incest is A-OK. Co-signed Professor Carolyn Cocca. Sounds good. I'll be sure to be at your panel for what's that called when you get...
I have tenure.
Yes, I'll be on your tenure board and use this as an example of why you're A-OK. Speaking of toxic couples, I am rewatching the prequel. I'm rewatching Star Wars from start to finish by 1 through, which is why I sent you that question about did Padme actually lead to Emperor Palpatine, which you did not seem you took umbrage at. But I was watching the second one last evening, and I actually really like it. Attack of the Clones, because there are like fun characters like Dexter Jettster. Is the little diner owner and fun things that happen. But as a purveyor now of smut and romance novels, I was watching this romance unfold, and I unfortunately really ruined this second movie for me because I used to love that romance. I don't know how she falls for Anakin because he's pretty whiny, and it's like, and she even gives him like a side eye like when he's behaving in this way, and then all of a sudden she's like head over heels in love with him. Like there needed to be at least 30 more extra minutes developing this relationship because with what we were given, I don't think that they should be together.
No, and I think the Clone Wars cartoon did a lot of work to sort of fill in how heroic he could be and how caring he could be.
Yeah.
But the movie does not do it. I mean, he basically just goes from whiny to murderous.
Yeah.
And it's not a range that you feel like you would fall for.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. So before we came on, I watched Revenge of the Sith, and I have a couple questions for you. What's the last time you watched it?
It's been a while, but it's funny you say you are rewatching them because I am planning to rewatch them in the near future
Okay.
also. And it's probably been 10 years,
Okay.
but I'll try. What
Okay.
are you thinking about it?
Things that I've thought about before, and I'm like, oh yeah, I still have that question. So question number one, when they are going to rescue the Chancellor and they're in an elevator, and Obi-Wan is shouting to R2-D2 and Anakin's on top of the elevator. When Anakin drops back into the elevator once it starts moving, Obi-Wan is ready to attack and then is surprised to see Anakin and says, "Oh, it's you." Do you think that that was a sign that Anakin already had something about him? Because it was kind of like, did he not sense that that was him, or did he sense like that this was actually like a bad figure that had just jumped into the carriage? Have you noticed that?
No, I hadn't thought of it, but I think that might be one of the areas where they cut. That there might be a deleted scene right around there,
Oh,
and that might account for it.
okay.
I'd have to check on that though.
Okay. It just reminds me of like Spider-Man. Like obviously Spider-Man, if Aunt May popped up, the spider sense wouldn't go off. Though I think there was something weird, and Donovan will have to tell me in like an early issue where it went off and it was Aunt May. But if it was a villain, obviously it would go off. So it's just like
Yeah, no,
it seemed
like that
like Obi-Wan was about to attack and he's like, "Oh, it's you." And so I thought, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, that does seem like a weird thing for him to say.
My other thing is the 4 Jedi that go in to arrest Palpatine. Okay.
Yeah.
Kit Fisto being like my number one guy. He's my favorite.
I like Kit Fisto a lot.
Should they have been better? I mean, 2 of them, whose name, the one guy's name I should actually know, he just gets like immediately stabbed. They get slashed down. Kit Fisto gets a couple like blocks and then and then it's just Mace Windu. It's 4 against 1. Should that have been a better scene?
I mean, I could explain it away in terms of lore, right? I could explain it away in terms of like the novelization of Revenge of the Sith doesn't add a ton on top of the movie, but it adds enough that it answers these kinds of, I think it addresses these kinds of things. I do remember that.
Okay.
It also does a little bit more about spoilers, Padme's death that I thought were helpful in helping me not be so furious about it.
Yeah.
I guess what you're supposed to think, I think what you're supposed to think is that Palpatine is just so powerful they didn't stand a chance. And the only person who does is Mace Windu, who this doesn't really come across that well in the movies, I don't think, but there's a really good EU novel, old expanded universe novel called Shatterpoint.
Okay.
Where Mace Windu is the main character. And I think his Padawan is Depa Billaba,
who
is Kanan's master, right? Is that right?
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, so, but anyway, he's the main character, and it goes into great detail about how he's like the baddest warrior that the Jedi have, that his style of fighting and his approach to fighting make him like the most formidable Jedi in a fight. And so I think that kind of goes a long way toward explaining why he would be the last one standing. I think the other ones, you're just supposed to think they're so surprised. Like they somehow didn't have a plan. They don't really know how to deal with Sith. And so they didn't really have a plan for what if they get attacked. They're complacent, all these Jedi problems.
Yikes. Well, at least Kit Fisto lasted a little bit.
Barely, though. Yeah. No, the movie has issues.
It does. Yeah. And I'm watching, I don't know where this like problem with General Grievous is that seems to be in certain corners. I mean, I think he's a pretty cool character. I mean, he's horrifying, but I think he's pretty cool. But I'm watching, the beginning where it's Count Dooku versus Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Obi-Wan gets like knocked out, but then he's able to really successfully and skillfully fight against General Grievous, who has 4 lightsabers. And I'm like, where was this Obi-Wan with like the best master? And even Grievous says, I trained under Count Dooku. So if you were able to defeat kind of the Padawan or the apprentice of Dooku, you'd think that you would have held up a bit better. I mean, for plot reasons, it needed to be that way so Anakin could kill Dooku. But I feel like Obi-Wan should have done a bit better in the initial fight of this film.
Yep, I
And
agree.
That's your boyfriend, by the way.
My future ex-husband.
My future ex-husband. Well,
One of
since
two.
we're yes,
David Tennant being the other one.
the other Purple Man. Purple Man. Who knew that you were attracted to a sociopath?
The doctor, not the.
Other Star Wars that have come out, Bad Batch, final season 3, and then Tales of the Empire. With Bad Batch, and we won't talk about these things too long. As I was making my notes, I was like, wow, we could have a separate episode about Star Wars. But with Bad Batch, I personally think that this was the best season. I thought it was really strong. I really loved the episode when
Asajj.
Yeah, Asajj Ventress came back in.
Yeah.
I just feel like the stakes were so much higher and there was like more kind of continuity with it because all the other ones were just like these one and done episodes of doing these little missions. I thought it was really great. And then seeing Crosshair's journey as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, thoughts on Bad Batch final season.
Exactly what you said. Best season, more engaging with continuity, more journeys for our characters, particularly Crosshair, who there was a point at which I thought, well, that's just unforgivable. And yet they led me to re-embrace him by the end. And I did like the other 2 seasons, but I wouldn't say I liked them evenly all the way through.
Yeah.
There were episodes that I thought, oh, that was really great. And then there were others where I felt like they're running around shooting at things I don't really care as much.
Yeah.
But this season didn't really have that because it sort of had the overarching arc to it. And I liked the coda at the end.
Oh, yes.
That kind of gives you the promise of, hey, maybe the Bad Batch is done, but maybe there could be some other animated world or book world or comic world where you're still following her journry.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Asajj is that I really didn't know it was coming. I somehow had not read that anywhere or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to be surprised by someone I like so much.
Yeah. And I mean, she's a really cool villain, but I think just Omega's personality and character able to bring out these traits of other people who are really rough, like Crosshair, that makes them likable because there's a scene when they're in the middle, they're in a boat. It's going to be that whole with the fish and everything. And Asajj is just like, can you please stop smiling? It's unsettling. I'm like, this is hilarious. There was something. Oh, I teared up when Omega was reunited in this season with Tuna. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And I was also very unsettled when that small child was taken away. And I was so worried like the entire time, is this child going to get back? That was just like awful to watch that happen. And then you kind of think about, the Jedi. I mean, technically like do the same thing, but hopefully it's done in a more compassionate way, but just, taking these kids away from their parents. Oof.
Awful. Yeah. Kid Peril is hard to watch.
Absolutely. Tales of the Empire. I went into that. I saw Barriss and I'm just like, oh no, this person. And it's also Morgan. I kept hearing it. And then when someone finally said Elsbeth, I was like, oh, this is who it is. So that was fun to see her background. And then Barriss actually some redemption for that particular character. And I would have loved to have seen it, but it seems like she and Ahsoka are friends because she says like send this kid to the friend, which we assume might be Ahsoka, but that would have been an interesting episode to see what those two like reconnecting would have been like.
I wasn't totally sure if we were supposed to assume that they had spoken, but maybe just that each knows where the other is, or she knows where Ahsoka is, and then Ahsoka can be trusted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went into that like, it's kind of like with Crosshair. I went into it like, embarrassed, but I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I mean, that the brutality of the Empire hits her in the face right away.
Yeah.
And it's not a better alternative than the Jedi. So she kind of comes back around to embracing the best of Jedi principles while letting go of all the rigidity and complacency and other issues that the Jedi Order had.
And probably became the most skilled warrior that she had, because she wasn't even fighting with a lightsaber. Though at the end, I'm just like, how did you walk into that lightsaber hit right there? I was like, no. Maybe she's okay. I don't know. Fourth sister carried her out. What was her actual name? She said, don't call me that. Lynn.
Right.
Yeah. also Pelayan and Rook from the books, because Thrawn was in Morgan
Mhm.
Elsbeth. So that was fun to see.
Yeah.
Now, in episode 5, there is a character that goes by they, them. With it was the person that it was a Jedi that Barriss and Lynn were going to go and kill. And then that was when Barriss shoved Lynn off of. So this person, I can't remember how the they them came up, but it was Barriss saying it. And so it's interesting because TV and book Star Wars universes can dabble in different forms of identity, but the films don't. And I was wondering, do you feel like it's because TV and book are low stakes compared to film? Do you think that's why they don't really pull the trigger on these sorts of I don't know, forms of inclusion and diversity in the larger film?
Yeah, for sure. I think I wrote about this in my book, but I can't remember. It's fair. Fair question, Stella.
Thank you. Which book, pray tell?
I believe it was in my Eisner Award.
Okay, yeah, take a shot, people. She did it.
Only 10 minutes in or whatever. No, I think I think I made this comparison and was saying that it is about the financial stakes, and that if you go comics, then novels, then TV, then film, you basically see decreasing diversity as you go up that chain of more financial risk.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And also is about audience, that comics are more of a niche audience, or I should say, people who are reading specific comics are more of a niche than people that you're trying to appeal to with your movie.
Yeah.
Right. So comics maybe is the narrowest of those audiences, then the audience for Star Wars novels, then TV shows, then films. But yeah, I definitely saw that with Star Wars, but I saw it with all kinds of superhero comics as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I mean, the High Republic had a couple leading male Jedis that were gay. The Padme like trilogy that they were doing. I think two of her handmaidens, is that the correct term? They were in a relationship. It was just like, oh, this is great. Why can't this be? And you know, other things. But yeah, so I was just reminded of that in episode 5. And of course, you bring up your book, and you were the one to let the world know that Jubilee was a poor stereotype of a Chinese person. And so X-Men 97, thoughts on that?
97, loved it. I just thought it was great from beginning to end. But I mean, I do have to ask what it would be like to watch it if you didn't read all those comics, because it was so compressed, which as a comics reader was great. It was just like action, 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 plot, 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 plot. They're throwing all these characters at you. So I thought it was terrific. I thought the way they deployed the mutant metaphor was great. But yeah, I do wonder if people liked it as much if they hadn't really read any of the comics.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I rewatched the original series right before I started. And I think because I was a kid at the time and Saturday mornings are kind of like touch and go of whether you're going to keep in line and force, they got repeats and all of that. I don't know that I've ever watched the entire thing. And then to go into this and that they're still having fun, but they are taking it seriously. Yes. It was nuts. The fact that Gambit was like major people were killed off.
Spoilers.
I know. I'm so sorry. Spoilers. The Gambit thing. I was like, no. And I had hopes like because Cable was around. I'm like, oh, well, we'll just change the future, right? But nope. I think Gambit is dead. I think he might be a horseman of the apocalypse. That might be where we're leading. I don't know.
But I did say to some other comics friends, when I die, I would like you to have a giant, cutout of me at my funeral, like saucily throwing a playing card.
Oh my gosh.
It's so ridiculous that like, this is the picture you have, funeral of your friend.
Who
but I
knows? Yeah. Yeah, and Rogue saying, I can't feel you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The eroticism, the sheer eroticism of that dance in the air with Magneto. My gosh.
Rogue and Magneto. Yeah. I mean, just calling on that relationship, I thought was a really great thing. I love that they did life death, although I would have preferred it been not
spoiled.
cut with. Yeah. but that's a really great comic arc, Life, Death, and Life, Death 2.
Yeah.
Storm and Forge. Let's see what else was in there. Yeah, the Jew.
Metal
I thought
Fire.
I liked it. Yeah, Matt. Well, right. So that was the kind of thing where I was like, if you don't know what this is, do you get what they're doing here?
I
This is
know.
kind of crazy because they're telling you all this stuff about Phoenix and clones and Inferno, and they're all kind of mushed in together.
Yeah.
Cable, time travel stuff.
Oh yeah. Bone Claws now, I guess.
Bone claws are on the way for
Oh my
sure.
gosh. Yeah, it was nuts. When I thought everything was like, oh, this is a comfort little thing. And then when Madeline Pryor showed up and everything took a turn, I was like, never mind, this is not what I thought. Yeah,
But
no, the stakes are high.
even the first two, I thought, okay, I know my expectations are not that high. If it kind of looks like the old one, it'll be fun, whatever. But those first two, they just nailed it. I mean, completely 100% nailed it. Like, this is what the X-Men are about. This is what it's like to be hated and feared. This is what prejudice is. And it's on a global scale. And here's Magneto trying to live up to Charles's dream or whatever, and he's doing it sincerely. And yeah, they just did a whole lot right from the beginning. So
I
I'll be
like
looking
that.
forward to more.
I know. I like that. And the side character, well, like the super minor characters popping up, like Spider-Man from the 90s with Mary Jane. She still needs a fashion like upgrade because she's still wearing the sweater and the turtleneck. Gosh, yeah. Who else was kind of popping up that I was seeing? I mean, Daredevil, I think we saw him, just like people that were creeping around in the background. The Watcher was there with Gambit's death. So I thought maybe something would happen, but I guess not. So,
but there were in every episode, there were quick little shots of all different kinds of characters that were fun for people who would recognize them. And if you didn't, it was fine. It wasn't like you were missing anything.
Absolutely. I like that they made Aurora darker.
Yeah.
And I also liked that she is more capable. So she was known as an Omega level mutant. And then also that Jean / Madeline were both also more capable than just falling down and having Scott yell, Jean!
And Jean fainted so many times on the old show. I didn't. Yeah. So I was glad that they didn't do that. I do wish that the storm losing the powers thing, one of the great things about that comic arc when she doesn't have powers is that she battles Scott for leadership of the X-Men and she wins even though she has no powers. So I was hoping they were going to do that, but that's okay. I'll let it go because there were so many other good things.
Yeah.
And then managed to encompass kind of Mohawk Storm and Goddess in the Black Storm as well and do both. So because obviously some people prefer one to the other.
Yeah.
It had everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So go out there and watch it, even though we spoiled some big plot points. But yes. And then the final thing in the intro, I think, is about this commencement speech that is all the rage now. Harrison Butker doing a commencement speech for the graduates of Benedictine College, which is a conservative Catholic school in Atchison, Kansas. And I don't want to stay on it for too long, but you were definitely like one of the people that I thought of when I was like watching just highlights from this speech of like, oh, it'd be great to let me ask you a couple questions about it. But I think probably people have seen, clips of him and also some parodies that have now come out and also responses from some women, on social media and things like that, either joking or being serious. But I guess like the quote that could kind of come through and give you an understanding if you don't know what this is let's see here. I can tell you that my beautiful wife Isabel would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on the stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. And he does encourage men to be unapologetic in your masculinity. That's a quote, which I do have slight concerns about, just that phraseology. But it is really shocking when he starts off by saying, like apologizing to the women because they've been lied to. And just that our purpose is, which is not it's not the first time we've heard it. It's not the first time we've heard it, but some people have come out against him. His jersey does appear to be selling very well, however. So I just want to say about that, though. I wonder if there's a pride version of it, because he was down about the gays in his speech as well. And I think that the Kansas City Chiefs do have like a pride collection. So that would be ironic if there's like a pride collection Butker jersey. The Benedictine sisters came out against him, and they feel like they're rejecting a narrow definition of what it means to be Catholic, and the assertion that being a homemaker is the highest calling for a woman, and that he was not really promoting unity, but disunity. And then, other people will have opinions. So I think I do wonder, since you are obviously at a university, I was trying to Google this, but couldn't really get a good answer. I do wonder how commencement speakers that are non-student are chosen. And do you think that maybe there should be a review of the speech prior to the ceremony, or we're just going under freedom of speech? I will say that I really liked my commencement speaker, who was a psychology professor at UVA, and he was a 3-time who. No, that was somebody else. He went to Harvard, though, I think. And he talked about being a lifelong learner and lessons we can take from preschoolers. It was a great speech. So I'll start that's my first question. And then just what do you think the response should be to this particular speech, or like, where do we go from here? Or is it just like, this is one man's opinion, let us move on? Or should we also be like, or should our hackles be up a little bit that, okay, we're going back to an argument that I thought we were pushing forward from, but here we are once again?
Okay, that was a lot of questions.
I know. So let's start how are commencement speakers that are not students chosen, and should there be a review, or is that an infringement on freedom of speech?
Okay, well, let me take the freedom of speech part first. So I think a lot of times when people speak publicly and there are consequences to that speech, people claim that they're being censored, but that's not what's happening. Private institutions, businesses can decide what kind of speech they want and do not want. And you consent to their terms of service when you use their institutions. So really, when the First Amendment is being impinged upon, it's when the government is censoring your speech. It's not really about fellow people disagreeing with you, or again, a business or some kind of private organization telling you that you are outside the bounds of what they expect from you. So having said that, the way that speakers are chosen differs in different places. Some schools have kind of a formalized process where they have like an open website all year, and they invite people to give suggestions for who a commencement speaker should be in that given year. Sometimes it's just as simple as the president of the college knows someone who is interested in doing it or wants to send a certain message or whatever. So I think it is a little different. As to whether they're reviewed, I guess I always assumed that they were. I don't have any evidence on one side or another, and I don't honestly know the answer to that, but I just always assumed that people would at least give the broad outlines of what they were going to talk about, because I think an institution would probably want to make sure. I mean, it might make the speaker not feel so great about it, but I think that if you're having this big public event, and particularly in an age where things can be online immediately, you kind of want to make sure that the speaker is going to be in line with your values. So I'm not sure that what this guy said wasn't in line with the values of the school. What do you know about the school?
Well, it seems like just from its title alone, as well as being called a conservative Catholic school, that, it would be in line. But then if the Benedictine sisters, of some other place, are coming out of Mount Saint Scholastica, are speaking out against him. So that's why I'm a bit confused then, because wouldn't they be behind him?
Well,
if this is a Benedictine college.
But they might also be saying that a homemaker isn't necessarily the highest calling for a woman, because being a nun is the highest calling for a woman. Like, we're not exactly sure which part they're disagreeing with, right?
That's true. Yeah.
The next part of what they said was saying, we've dedicated our lives to God and God's people. And, we have taught women who make other kinds of differences in their roles as wives and mothers, right? So I'm not sure that they disagree with him that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
That quote that you had there.
Yeah. This is from New York Times.
Yeah, we sisters have dedicated our lives to God and God's people, including the many women whom we have taught and influenced during the past 160 years. These women have made a tremendous difference in the world in their roles as wives and mothers. So that part kind of seems to agree with his main point.
Yeah.
One also assumes that his wife maybe agrees with this because
potentially.
she is consenting to it by being part of it. And she may even feel complimented by him saying that her being so good at what she does enables him to be the man that he is.
Right.
Right. He, in criticizing homosexuality, is not unusual for people who are conservative and Catholic.
Sure.
That the women's jersey is out of stock and the men's jersey is selling well leads me to believe that there are people who agree with what he's saying, and probably the school wouldn't have invited him if they didn't have some idea of what he was going to talk about.
Yeah, and it is in Kansas, so I think that also should give potentially an indication.
So having said all that,
yeah.
And, so they can choose who they want. This is the message that they want to deliver to their students, and they chose someone to do it who did it. Having said that, this is a guy who kicks a ball with his feet. So who the hell cares what he thinks about anything? I mean, why does he have an influential voice about anything other than kicking a ball with his foot? That's his job.
True, but here we are discussing it, and it's made an uproar.
I would also note that I believe his mother is an oncologist.
Physicist.
She's in the Department of Radiation Oncology. No?
I just Googled.
Oh.
You might, if you have it.
I don't have it in front of me. I thought it was something
I just
really.
had, let's see here. Renowned physicist is what the Independent is telling me. You are right, radiation oncology.
Okay, so, that's like trying to save people from cancer.
Yeah, meaning she has to have
an advanced degree to have done that, and to dedicate a pretty reasonable amount of time to becoming an expert in all that saving other people's lives stuff. So I don't know what the deal is in their household, or if he just wants his wife to be different from his mother or whatever. So, my approach is like, this is not that indicative of how a lot of people in the world feel. But yeah, I mean, it's gotten a big platform in the particular environment we're in now, which I think is reasonable, because I think it's reasonable to be on guard for all kinds of speech and action that are denigrating women's equality. And so I think that everyone should be concerned about that, because everyone should be treated equally. And so if you're implying that 51% of the population is not equal, I think that is something to be pushed back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I used to kind of shiver at the thought of like, oh, a homemaker and all of that stuff. I've come around to being like, I think that's an admirable profession, to be a mother, to be a homemaker. I mean, that was my mom when I was born, and then, to put me through college, she went back to work. But to say that is someone's only purpose is where I'm stopping.
Oh, for sure. If someone's choosing it, I mean, the whole point of every feminist movement around the world has been for everyone to be treated equally, and for everyone to have access to the same kinds of opportunities and choices. So if you have access to all different kinds of opportunities and choices, and your choice is, I think what I'd like to do is be a homemaker and mother, that's great. But you have to realize that hundreds of years of activism enabled you to have that choice.
Right.
It's not happening in a vacuum, and you shouldn't have to be at someone else's mercy who's circumscribing your choices for you and only validating one type of choice, which seems to be what is happening here. So although I said I think his wife seems to be consenting to this because she's still there. It's also true that there's plenty of scholarship about unequal and violent relationships that tell us that there's a big psychological component that goes along with it, where the person in the coercive abusive relationship is being made to feel like, yes, they're unequal and it's their fault and nobody likes them, trusts them, believes in them, that they're lesser. And if they try to push back on that, generally coercion and violence tends to increase. So sometimes people freely choose to be in the home as their primary vocation. And sometimes people don't choose it at all and need help to be able to make different choices. Yeah. I don't know really anything about these particular people enough to say which of those there might be, but sometimes those things can go together, and we should all always be making sure with our loved ones that they have the choices that they should be allowed to have.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do think that being a nun is a very great vocation and profession, though. I will say I have a lot of respect for nuns. I did see recently on Instagram I guess maybe it came from a tweet, but this person was saying how, I'm assuming it was a woman, how have you seen the Handmaid's Tale TV show?
I started, but I could not do it. It was just too upsetting.
I understand. I imagine. I mean, they have a ceremony in episode 1. And so this person was saying, you know how in The Handmaid's Tale and they have flashbacks and in the past and everything seems like okay, it seems normal, but there are like hints of what's to come. We are in that time now, and there are some, and they use like the F word, but there are some pretty big effing hints going on. I'm like, this is like one of those scare, like, are we going towards Gilead here?
Yes.
When
we 100% are.
Oh.
When you're talking about reviving laws from before when women had the vote, that's kind of a big red flag. So,
yeah. Okay, well, we can move on from that. I just thought, what a crazy thing that I was witnessing there with that. But I'm glad that people are talking about it, at least, that they're not just like shutting up and listening to him and that sort of thing.
Right, I agree. I think it's good that people are talking about it, and I would agree that there are, of course, multiple ways of practicing one's religion, and his way isn't necessarily everyone's way, nor does it need to be. Sure. But yeah, I think if you're basically saying women should only be allowed to do one thing and only one thing is fulfilling for them, and that thing that you're being told is something that was imposed on women for hundreds of years, and we've had to struggle to try to get away from it. And this same person is kind of saying the same thing about LGBTQ people, that their choices should be circumscribed, that there's something wrong with them. Then, yeah, I mean, I think that we should all be very concerned about people who feel free to say things, who feel so free to say things like that in public because they just assume other people agree with them.
Yeah.
They need to know that other people do not agree with them. It's not okay to treat people unequally.
I would agree. I think, unfortunately, this is kind of the struggle that I have with like the very outward Christians, because that's like the only experience that non-Christians have. And obviously, yeah, I would also have a very poor opinion of this. But when people use this sort of like negative language surrounding like you can't, and the beauty of Christianity is just like the love. So it's not all of this negative language that you're not allowed. It's all of this like beauty of welcome and everything. So when people twist it, that's when we get it wrong. But I've been on that horse too many times, so I shall get off of it. Well, we're done with the intro, so you're welcome for having a short intro, So this is the main event. We're doing some Gail Simone Birds of Prey 5-issue storyline that's going to be entitled Hero Hunters. And yes, okay. So we will do it runs 76 through 80. So we'll take them individually. And then we will also talk about the storyline as a whole. And maybe some things that we just talked about will pop up again. I can't remember, but we probably do really need to take Barbara Gordon to task. We're gonna have to talk about some things that she did. Okay, so my synopses come from mostly DC Wikia, except for one, which came from a publisher synopsis. But I'm still in my lazy mode of life where I just don't have a lot of time. So here we go. This is Birds of Prey number 76, Hero Hunters Part 1. Teenage Wasteland, January 2005. Writer Gail Simone, penciler Joe Prado, inker Ed Benes, and colorist Hi-Fi Design. Helena Bertinelli is undercover at a school as a substitute, I should be specific. Black Canary and Huntress are spying on one of Huntress's students. Canary loses the girl, and that evening, the girl who happens to be Black Alice, yes, you heard right, appears and magically tosses a car at a group of men. Canary appears and uses her canary cry to destroy this car mid-flight before anyone can be harmed. Utilizing magic, Black Alice detains Black Canary and escapes. Canary and Huntress are spying on this student named Lori when Lori discovers her boyfriend is seeing another girl. She loses her temper and again becomes Black Alice. And I should say that the first time we see her, she's using Dr. Fate's powers, and then the second time she's more like Zatanna. She begins fighting Canary and Huntress, but stops when the girl her boyfriend was seeing apologizes. And I think also during this fight, she becomes, who would she be? She says Shazam, but would you say would you say that was Black Adam?
I think so, because she is wearing the black costume.
Yeah. I will say that I contacted, because Black Alice, completely forgot about her. Completely forgot. When I first started, I guess, reading comics consistently, I remember her appearing because kind of like Infinite Crisis it was this sort of time. And when she appeared, I was like, oh my gosh, where has that person been? So I actually contacted Gail Simone, since she is, of course, the writer, and just asked, hey, do you have any like tidbits or trivia? And then once we continue, we'll see that there are two other antagonists that we'll encounter, but Black Alice only got one part. And so I also asked, hey, did you want to do more with her here? Because the other two got two each. And she said, no, that story was intended to have a lot of impact in just one issue. But once we got back the brilliant character designs from Joe Prado, DC knew we were on to something with Black Alice. So we started planning her next appearance right away. I liked the idea of one of the most potentially powerful DC characters being a broken-hearted young girl. It seemed dangerous and uneasy for the DCU heroes. After a couple appearances, she was Wizard Magazine's best new character of the year, a big deal at that time. Bill Willingham asked to use her in Shadowpack and did a very nice job. I think it was Sean McKeever who added a potential family connection between Misfit and Black Alice. You would know more about that, I think. And at that time, I didn't get it at all. Much, much later, rethinking it, that seemed really clever, and I just hadn't thought it through. To this day, she is one of the most cosplayed of all my characters. The inspiration was, I was talking with a teacher who said that fully half the kids in her classes were being raised by their grandparents because the parents were either missing, in jail, run off, or deceased. That's a lot of grieving kids. Made me sad that she came from that. So thanks to Gail Simone for taking time to respond and give us some background there. Lots to also pull out about that. Do you know more about Misfit than I, since I have not gotten there? Do you know anything about that connection? Do you recall anything? No,
I don't remember that. I do remember that Black Alice will reappear. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, in this book?
Yeah, but it's going to be a while.
Okay, yeah, I know. I'm only on 80, and we have got like 80 more to go, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like 96.
Oh, okay. So not as bad. Okie dokie. So yeah, I guess we can just talk about this particular issue. I was getting a feeling of the craft, which I think was intentional, just with kind of the female coven there, though it wasn't I guess when I think of a coven, which was when the girls, I guess I'll say, get together initially, like it was, kind of these outcasts, and it was intimate and like good friendship, but then of course inevitably they break down, which is where we kind of see this, because Lori gets kicked out immediately, and we find out why. Helena as a substitute is fine, but also you can't say that you're bugging out because she left. She said, I just left. And I'm like, you can't do that. That class now has no teacher. Did you tell
Doesn't work
someone
like
you were
that.
leaving? Oh my gosh.
No.
Yes. There's a funny quote where Dinah is, of course, following her. And she said they're in her boyfriend's room and they're not playing Boggle.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the cover?
I do not like the cover.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why? Is it the art style?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit pouty and big hair for me. I do like that it's all three of them.
Yeah.
And that we see part of Babs's body. But I guess those are not the way I'm used to seeing their faces.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And it's very urban looking too, like urban grunge.
Which doesn't really match where they are.
No, it does not.
Yeah, I mean, the art inside is different from that. But I thought, yeah, I mean, I thought this issue, I really liked it. I liked this whole arc. I liked the idea of it. But what do you want to talk about in particular?
Definitely want to talk about Dick's voicemail and then Babs's return call. I mean, come on, you could guess, of course. Yeah, thoughts on that voicemail? I also wonder, should Babs have made more of an effort to say goodbye to Dick? Or was it best at that time for her to just make a clean break and leave? And he was injured at the time, if I recall, with War Games and everything. So he's on the mend. So she would have had to make an effort to do it, but golly, with someone like that, with that relationship, should she not have? But yeah, thoughts on the voicemail and her return call at the very end.
To me, the most important thing in both voicemails is that they both say they love the other person. I know, very sad. But they want to be there for each other, but they just can't right now.
Yeah.
And he's respecting what she seems to want, and she hopes she can be there for him someday, right?
Yeah.
And he'll be back. He'll be back.
Oh yeah. And they both leave it open too, like that there's something definitely. And I feel like it's realistic of, a relationship that may have hit a bad patch, but you feel like this is the person, but we need to like be our own individual people for the moment and grow and work on what we need to. And then we'll come back together when the time is right. So I feel like I feel like it's really well written. I mean, I want them to be together, obviously, but I feel like with Tarantula, she did her damage. So
yeah. And there's other stuff going on too that's coming with
oh no.
No, all right, I won't say anything else about that.
Okay.
But yes, I was glad to see that part. I liked the whole idea of it just right at the beginning, it kind of setting out to you where this is going is Lori asks Helena if you can be a hero but be a mess inside. And that's kind of the question that you're going to be asking in the next few also.
Yeah.
Because the birds are going to meet these other two women and they have to kind of face what these women are doing and why. And then that leads to them asking themselves and each other, what is ethical in this kind of situation and what is moral and what is the line and what if everybody's line is a little bit different in terms of getting justice and what's justice. And so I think that together as an arc, showing those questions through three different, I think Babs uses the phrase violent vigilantes later through three different ones. It's a kind of three slightly different lenses to look at those questions.
Right. Yeah. Before obviously looking at the bigger picture when you get to the end and you realize what has actually been transpiring the entire time. It was interesting to see Black Alice and having quotes like I don't hurt innocence, but it's more of a guideline than a rule. And I'm like, wow, that really sounds like Helena there. I mean, just these similarities and having Huntress have that great moment of talking rather than fighting and reaching Lori in that way, which was great because it was a bit odd that Dinah's like telling Huntress to leave the fight because you'd think like all hands on deck at this point, but I understand what she's doing because Huntress doesn't have any powers, but the fact that she's able to use a tact like a peaceful tactic. I think it was great.
Yeah, and speaking of tactics, I like the concept of what Lori does, which is that she is able to tap into other DC characters' magic.
Yep.
In a way that she can't quite control yet.
Mm-mm.
But as a concept, it's cool because it sort of shows you that these other DC characters, especially if you haven't thought of them in a while, right? This kind of reminds you, like, oh yeah, that person's out there doing their thing. And they each use magic, but they use it in very different ways. Like the three people that she's calling on here, their powers are different, even though some kind of magical element to it. And she's kind of wearing like punk versions of their costume.
Oh, yeah. I like how we've got this tier, this black, eyeliner tier. I thought that was a fun detail. But I mean, arguably, Black Alice would be super powered, like really powerful. And because she's a teenager that doesn't have full control over it, now even more powerful and dangerous because it's like you can't tell what's going on. But just the fact that she has Dr. Fate, Zatanna, and Black Adam, and who even knows what else, and can just change them at will is nuts.
Yeah. So you can imagine if she's well trained, which I think we're being led to believe she is going off for some training at the end. But if she's trained and she's like in a fight with a big bad and she's able to really quickly switch between those power sets of different people, like calling on a different power set depending on what is needed in that moment, that's seriously powerful stuff.
Absolutely. We did stumble upon some small commentary on the opioid crisis.
We did
because that's how Lori loses her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought it was interesting that Lori goes after the girl the guy is cheating with rather than the guy.
Yes, I noted that as well. And I felt like, as much as I don't like to see that, I think there is truth behind it, unfortunately, because women are very much schooled in blaming the other woman instead of the person who's supposed to be your man who is choosing to cheat on you with the other woman. Right. Don't do this, ladies. Don't do this.
Yeah, I know.
Put the blame where it belongs.
Absolutely.
But I also liked that Lori calms down, or Lori depowers whatever pretty immediately, and is surprised when her friend says, yeah, I knew this wasn't a good idea and I was going to break it off. There's no apology from the dude.
No.
But he's out of the picture.
Yeah, it was really interesting that she just wanted someone to say I'm sorry. Yeah. And the way that she phrases that, because she says, I was hoping someone would say that to me eventually, seems like she was just waiting for that from somebody. Maybe I'm sorry, I don't know, that I dealt drugs to your mother potentially, or I'm sorry we kicked you out of the coven. Which we find out that there's jealousy behind that. So I guess the power of, I've talked about apologies before on this podcast, but the power of forgiveness or being apologized to is, look at what happened here. Yeah. So but if this means these girls can restore their friendship, then that's a good thing. Absolutely. Did you feel like this? Now, obviously, this was the intention as we got from the word of the author. Did you feel like this was abrupt, though, and that maybe we could have done another issue and seen more? Would there have been another conclusion with Alice, or do you like it how it is? I think both of those things can be true. I think this probably... You always do this to me. Yes and no. I'm used to answering questions in front of a room full of people, as you can probably tell, and validating all their dumb questions. No, I mean validating all of their questions. Oy. I think it easily could have been 3 issues, and we could have explored more about all of these dynamics. But on the other hand, it makes for a really tight 1 issue. So I could argue it either way. Yeah. I guess I would have loved to have seen a bit more about Lori, but I think Simone puts in like the important beats that you need to know. But I guess could have made each of the 3, all 3 of these people that we're encountering, they each could have been 2 or they each could have been 1. Yeah, something like that. But you got it. So I guess really, if you want to go see more about Black Alice, go see other places that she pops up. Yeah, she is around. Anything else on 76?
Do you want to say something about?
Oh, Babs turning into a Borg.
Well, yes.
All we know is, I don't know.
That's all. We don't know that much so far.
No, it just, she's got something affixed to her side that seems techno-organic.
Indeed.
And it gets worse and worse, folks. I
It
think
does.
that's it. Is that what you wanted to say?
Yep. I just wanted to call attention to that.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll keep talking about it as we go along.
We will, yes. Birds of Prey 77, Hero Hunters Part 2, Harvest. February 2005, writer Gail Simone, penciler Tom Derenick, inker Bob Petreca or Petrecha. I'm so sorry. And colors Hi-Fi Designs. 3 men are on a fishing trip when one of them is killed by a figure in robes. On the Airy One, the Birds of Prey discuss the case. There have been 9 murders in this location. Barbara has found that 5 of the people who were murdered are connected to other homicides, either voluntary or not. Black Canary and Huntress go to a bar near where the latest killing took place, and Zinda asks to go along, which is good, and Barbara gives her the A-OK. Huntress starts asking questions about the Harvest Ghost killings, and a fight breaks out. Huntress and Canary run from the bar when the sheriff tries to arrest them. While running through a cornfield, the two come across the Harvest Ghost. The ghost tells them that one of them must die at her hand, and she says that she'll let them choose. And I should say that since Zinda separated herself from those 2 ladies and was pretty nondescript, she's able to get more information that the others weren't allowed to. Okay, first of all, cover. Doc Harvest, also thumbs down. The
Thumbs
same
down.
thing. I mean, their mouths are kind of open and no babs.
No Babs, which I have issues with.
Oh, I do.
I would say this issue, the art throughout, I had difficulty with.
I would agree. In fact, art was one of my points. When I do that, that means that I don't care for it as much.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a couple examples where I was just like, what? I mean, there's a hair issue. Okay, we'll get there.
But there is a hair issue, and I had trouble keeping track of Dinah v. Zinda.
I'm not right. I'm not the hair correspondent. I realize, but
that's Professor Middleton.
We'll get there, of course. Yeah. So the cover, I realized that this is a way that male artists decide to draw women with their legs spread, like they're straddling someone. But given that they're not actually straddling someone, Helena, for instance, it just looks like she has to poop.
Oh dear.
And I don't think that's a good look, but it's not uncommon that women are in that kind of starting to squat, get into chair pose kind of look. But I do not care for it because that is not how one, I mean, even if you're doing some kind of sport thing and you're sort of crouching to get ready for action, that's not how your body is when you do it.
Not that light of a stance, no.
No, so I just found it distracting.
Yeah. Is it just is it an innate sexual, I don't know, vision coming from men? Do you think that's what's happening?
No, I mean, that's how I take it when I said it looks like it's like this is the position that someone would be in if they're straddling over someone else.
Yeah.
Except that someone else isn't there. But it's just,
alas.
Yeah. But we'll see it again.
Unfortunately, yes. Well, I was just scanning through the other ones and can't wait to talk about 79. I did like the line, which comes back. So good on you, Gail Simone, for bringing it back at the end. Friends call me Babs to Huntress. Yeah, and it is used in a completely different way or a completely different tone later on. But yeah, that was a good recall from Simone. I thought that was good writing. And it's, I mean, just looking at that, because my note is just quote, friends call me Babs line to Huntress, from Barbara to Huntress. Just that alone shows how much that Barbara has grown, as well as that relationship, because we know, of course, that has not been the best of relationships, which we'll see what happens at the end. How we make such strides and then we take giant leaps backwards. At one point, Zinda calls Babs Ma. Why?
She does?
Let's see.
I must have gone right by it.
Do you have a physical copy?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it says hot dog. Oh, she does say hot dog. Hot dog. Be back late, Ma, if I'm lucky.
Oh, so she's just joking then,
But
right?
I guess, do you think that, would you consider Barbara a motherly figure to these women?
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
That's interesting.
I think of it like, I mean, she's their friend, obviously,
Yes. Yeah.
but I think that she is going to be the one who might tell them to be careful or check in or whatever. And those are sort of maternal type things.
Yeah.
I mean, some of her language is not that much different from the way she might talk to Cass and Steph if she was running
That's
them.
true. Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, I guess I just didn't even notice it. I just thought it was like
Right. An affectation from Zinda in particular.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it helps when their looks are so drawn so similarly, it helps differentiate her from Dinah.
Yeah, very true. This is ironic given we were just talking about Harrison Butker, but how likely is it that a white man in Kansas checks to see if a woman is with another woman at a bar? I read that and I was like, wow, look at this guy. He's so woke.
Well, I hate to tell you, but the gays are everywhere.
Is there an agenda? What's the gay agenda? Well, yeah. No, I was pleasantly surprised to see it. Is it realistic? I don't know. I feel like when men come up to women in bars, they are really, there's this entitlement of that this woman's going to want to be with me. So it's refreshing, but in a fantasy world,
I would say not all men, but yes, there is certainly
hashtag not all men.
There is a pattern of men who do behave that way in bars. Yes.
Yes.
With entitlement.
Sorry, there's a funny moment where Huntress, it's so clear what her modus operandi is and her character because she yells out to Dinah in the bar so that Dinah can see that she did not start the fight. So it gives you an indication of like, well, Huntress gets herself into trouble a lot and it's often at the hand of Huntress. But in this one instance, it is not her fault.
No, there's a lot in these issues. There's a lot of humor, and a lot of the humor is about the characters' personalities, which which is one of the things I like most about Simone's Birds of Prey run.
Yeah, I think it's balanced well because it's not like goofy. We're taking things seriously, but they're interspersing that humor well. The baby, thoughts on child endangerment, I would say, but
but then we come to find out why in the next issue.
Yes.
They feel like they have to have the baby with them. So we'll hold that discussion for a minute.
Yes. So
first,
then
I thought, what are you doing? Like, why would you bring this baby with you?
Know.
But
yes, it seems a bit.
yes. I was going to say also an indictment of, our childcare systems or lack thereof in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. On a positive note, you can get over-the-counter birth control now.
Yes.
So we're making some strides.
But you say that like you can get it everywhere. You cannot.
You cannot. But I just thought at least we're making some strides in healthcare. But no, we have many.
That is the next. That is the next frontier of legal challenges, trying to have different contraceptives reclassified as abortifacients.
Oh, yeah.
So keep your eyes out for that.
Will do. Because of the creature that is on your shirt, we can, of course, it's Grogu for those people listening. We can, of course, connect it to that because he's endangering a child all the time. Mandalorian is anyways.
Yes. And we know that this particular child can hold his own briefly and then needs a nap.
That's correct. And speaking of the Mandalorian, I just found out recently that the person who plays the armor graduated from UVA, which I thought was pretty funny.
That is pretty. Oh, and we didn't mention the Acolyte. The Acolyte is coming.
Oh, yes.
And I hope that's good.
Yes, I do as well. Especially with, my gosh, that's a super diverse cast.
And is it like next week? I mean, it's pretty soon.
Yeah, might be coming up pretty soon. Yep. So we do have more Barbara Gordon. Her tum-tum is hurting. She doesn't look well, but she is yet to be forthcoming, which is an issue that she seems to be having in this particular book. Not very forthcoming to people. And we go back and forth. Yes.
I would also add she was kind of like that in the very beginning of Birds of Prey.
True.
In Dixon's Birds of Prey too. So,
but wouldn't you say that there's the difference because she was very much keeping her personal life separate and no one knew Barbara and Oracle were the same. But now that that's like we do know, shouldn't she be more open?
yeah, she should. I think she's going to come around to that in a few issues, but she's not quite there yet.
Okay. So she's doing things like putting on a mask that looks like her avatar, but again, looks techno-organic, so it's a bit scary. Does she take on a body in this one?
And there's a panel where I just noted Barbara puts Oracle mask on and gets giant arms.
Yes, here it is.
What the?
The perspective is off a bit, yeah. The proportions, I should say.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, forearms.
Some strange combination of Barda and Popeye is happening there.
Oh, very much so. What do you think, just plotting wise, that this is interspersed with the other stuff that's going on? Did you feel jarred at all? Are you okay that it kind of goes back and forth for a little bit?
You mean back and forth between the harvest stuff and the Barbara techno-organic stuff?
Correct. Or specifically the bar and Barbara.
Okay. No, I thought I kind of liked that because I think showing the little snippets of what's going on with Barbara is meant to make you more curious instead of just like showing it all over a couple of pages in a row. This is kind of like, what is she doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
Is this related to what we saw on her in the last issue, which of course it is.
I guess the final question is just about Harvest herself, which we get to know a bit more about her, but kind of trying to figure out about, because we've probably both seen horror films where there's like a vengeful spirit that goes after. And it just seems odd that the person who invokes her, the Harvest can just go after whoever, whereas because she's like far away from whoever invokes her, which we find out in the next one. And I would think that, okay, whoever invokes her, Harvest is going to go after someone that's like in that vicinity or someone related to that situation. But instead, no, she's been invoked and now she's going to kill. She has to kill someone. And now it's going to be one of these two. I mean, were you okay with this, I guess, detail? Did you feel like it made sense?
I didn't feel like it was that important.
Okay.
I know. I mean, in terms of, I think we're just kind of getting the idea of the birds are kind of doing a similar mission to what they were doing with Alice, right? There's some kind of vengeful, violent, vigilante thing happening. That's a bit of a mystery and they have to figure out what it is and why it's happening. So I was just kind of rolling along with, okay, this one seems a little more supernatural, not sure if it is or not, kind of wondering what the basis of it was. And also the first time, this was really one panel that I actually did like, and it might have been the only panel that I actually liked. It was like of Harvest, but not showing any face or body. It was just all black. Then after that, you see a body a little bit more.
Yeah. Was it initially with the boat?
Yeah. Like, I think that is a little more interesting than showing, and there might be another similar one like that too. I thought that was more interesting than just showing like a woman's body that kind of looks like a scarecrow.
Yeah. She kind of looks like the Angel of Vengeance.
Yeah. Like
Andrea Beaumont.
Yeah. And so so I liked that panel in particular, and that stood out to me because of how much I really didn't like a lot of the others.
Yeah.
I just really didn't love the facial expressions, the unbelievably tiny waists, just the proportions, the expressions. Barbara's super poofy hair and in the first panel that all three birds are in was just not working for me.
Maybe they have a Scarlett O'Hara waist.
Maybe. Really pulling that corset.
I know. And when she was upset post childbirth, she's like, I can't get it back. Anything else on 77?
I don't think so.
So we'll move on to 78. Hero Hunters Part 3, Moon Dance. Writer Gail Simone, penciler Tom Derenick, inker Bob Petrarca. and colors hi-fi designs. Black Canary defies Harvest. She and Huntress attack. Harvest severely weakens Canary, and Lady Blackhawk shoots Harvest. When Huntress goes to follow her, she finds Harvest has vanished. Canary has been aged to an old woman. So she's got her AARP card. Elsewhere, Rodriguez and Dwayne investigate the site of a private plane's landing. Those names came out of nowhere. Dwayne is the father of the baby, and Rodriguez is the person who she's like a deputy. I think Dwayne's a sheriff, who was safeguarding the baby. So Rodriguez and Dwayne investigate the site of a private plane's landing, but cannot find it. They think the pilot must have been one of the girls from the bar and has fled. On the plane, Oracle decloaks to let her teammates aboard. Canary returns to normal after an hour. She explains that she had a specific kind of punch that only she can throw, but only minutes after using it on Harvest, it had been returned to her, as in she got hit by the same punch, and she'd forgotten how to throw it herself. They conclude that Harvest steals life force and that the townsfolk must be protecting her. In her hideout, Dwayne, isn't it? It says Rodriguez, arrives and demands to talk. On the plane, Blackhawk tells of what she learned. Harvest transfers the life force to sick children. Dwayne drops Rodriguez and his daughter at Rodriguez's home, refusing to talk about his meeting with Harvest. Huntress is unsure the ethics of taking Harvest down. She's killing murderers who got away with it, again, voluntary or involuntary, because the guy who got killed at the beginning threw someone off of a roof because he thought he was drunk and he thought that she was going to land in a pool, but it was the wrong side. So just to give you an indication, because I would say that was involuntary manslaughter. She's killing murderers who got away with it. Yeah. And saving sick children, after all. Blackhawk reveals that Dwayne's daughter, Reba, is very ill. Canary decides to take down Harvest. Dwayne decides to keep his daughter with him that night, and Canary and Huntress confront him on his way to pick her up, accusing him of calling Harvest. Harvest herself arrives and tells him that the deal's been called off. Canary says that she won't let Harvest continue killing, but Harvest responds by explaining how 60 years ago she'd been nailed down with railroad spikes while her captor was quote unquote occupied. Canary still refuses to back off, and after a short fight, downs Harvest with her sonic scream, but the action weakens her and she falls unconscious. Dwayne says that he didn't call Harvest, but asked her to stop, and Rodriguez ends up coming out and saying that she was the one to call Harvest because Reba is as much her child as his. While Canary recovers, Huntress gives them a card saying that her boss runs a foundation that can help Reba. I was trying to figure out who that was. Maybe it was Batman. I didn't assume that it was Barbara. By the time Canary wakes up, Harvest has escaped, and a week later, a man is killed in France, apparently by Harvest. And I will say that she wears those train ties, which is like, as a reminder, man, just reliving your trauma every time you look at your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah, get dressed. Yeah. Who is her boss? Who do you think has this foundation?
Right. So at first I took it to mean Barbara, and then it was like, well, wait a minute. But we could think that Barbara, I mean, I have some memories of Barbara accessing money from the Wayne Foundation when she first set herself up as Oracle. So maybe she's referring to the Wayne Foundation.
Yeah.
But that Barbara's kind of related to it. I don't know. But you're right. That is a little weird.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to think that she's calling Batman her boss.
Yeah. Especially
there will be a Batman appearance, but
yeah, we need to talk about that for sure.
Not there yet.
Cover.
Well, I guess I like it better than the last one.
Yeah, her legs are closed.
Uh-huh.
You've got Huntress and Harvest, and the tagline is the Huntress becomes the prey.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not quite the same as the issues that I had in the previous issue.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's my favorite cover.
No. Is it also deceitful?
Because that doesn't exactly happen that way.
Well, I guess I thought that she mostly goes after Dinah. Dinah's the one who gets hit twice.
Yeah.
And becomes elderly and then unconscious. There are some clues that Dinah has done something in her past, but we don't find out what that was. Do we ever find out, since you've read ahead, dear reader? Or is this
I don't
okay that
remember.
okay, because
But
this seems like a detail that this is like a Chekhov gun business that should it be fired later on? I think so. These are big details. Huntress is asking about it, but Dinah's like, another time maybe.
can I just interject that I do a Broadway brag for a second that we went to see Uncle Vanya 2 weeks ago.
Did you? How was it?
We liked it. There were four of us, and we all kind of liked it, but didn't love it.
Okay.
And it was a bit of a bummer. So there are so many people in this thing, right? So it's like the main role is played by Steve Carell, and one of my favorite people is in it, Alfred Molina, who I've now seen 3 times on Broadway because I saw him in Fiddler on the Roof and in Art. Allison Pill is in it. The guy from The Good Place, William, he has 3 names.
Oh.
William Jackson Harper. Does that sound right? Anika Noni Rose. No. Okay. Well, anyway, Uncle Vanya. And it is a more modern interpretation of it. But yeah.
What made you decide to see Uncle Vanya?
We had recently seen friends of ours, and we got to talking about the book Our Country Friend, which is sort of like a modern retelling of Uncle Vanya. And so it was not long after that this was announced, and we said, oh, we should go to that.
Okay.
So that's really how it came up.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't put it at the top of your list, unfortunately.
Next one, yes?
There was a gun, and it was fired.
My next one that I would like to see actually is Suffs.
Oh, there was an ad for it in the playbill, and I was like, I have to just pull this ad out and put it on the wall in my office.
There you go.
Although I can't remember what it said. Yeah, I think I brought it to school.
Yeah.
So yeah. That looks good.
We'll see. Yeah, and I am excited about Hercules.
We'll see.
So those would be the 2 that are currently on my list. But yeah, now that I'm closer. Okay, so you don't know about Dinah. We don't know if the gun is just a gun or it will go off. I actually don't have a lot to say about this, but I felt like we certainly were in a trolley car situation to a certain extent where, do you let Harvest kill murderers, either intentional or otherwise, in order to save a sick, innocent person? So that's kind of like the big question surrounding this 2-issue arc, I would say.
Right. Whereas the previous one, it was more like if people are knowingly providing drugs and those drugs wind up killing someone, is it ethical to go after those people?
Yeah.
It's a different version, different facet of the same kind of ethical debate.
Yeah. I
was happy to see Wildcat.
Yes. You have a crush on him, right?
I don't recall ever saying that. But
he's an attractive man.
I guess so.
Oh no, poor Ted.
He's not at the top of
your superhero list?
Crush list, I don't think. No,
oh,
but
okay.
I think he's a nice guy.
Yes, he is. Yes. And we love how he helps out. I think there's like an issue coming up with Dinah and Wildcat maybe on the cover.
Yeah.
In an upcoming issue for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't have I would say I didn't love these 2 issues because I was really engaging with Black Alice and I wanted more. And then we went to Harvest. I was like, so maybe it was just like falling after Black Alice did Harvest dirty for me. Cause
I agree because Black Alice was compelling. The characters around her were compelling. Here, it was you're kind of asking yourself like, how much attention am I supposed to be paying to the sheriff and the deputy? Like, are they going to recur? And not really. And they don't really have that much personality, I guess, other than they seem to be devoted to each other and the baby and being cops. I don't know. So maybe it just wasn't, I agree. It didn't compel me the same way. If these 2 came before the Black Alice one, I would probably be more like, oh yeah, this was interesting. This ethical debate she's trying to set up. Yeah. So don't mistake us and say they're not worth reading. They are.
Yeah.
Just think the first one was stronger.
And I think you holistically need it to best understand the climax of the
what's
of
coming
this story. Yeah, for sure. Why do you think the townspeople protect Harvest? Is it because they know that she's helping out dying kids?
Yeah. Don't you?
Yes. I guess with the crowd in the bar, maybe it's just like a bad judgment of myself. I'm just like, man, some of these people might have been, I would think that they'd be scared, but they're just like, well, they're ready to protect her. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess
They,
that's,
they could be dumb drunks, but not murderers, I suppose.
yeah, there you go. Okay. Anything else?
No, I feel the same way. And also, the plot summary that you read for this one was a little longer, so it covered some of the things that we might have mentioned
It
too,
sure
I think.
did. Yeah. I would say that whoever wrote the plot synopses for these, while I do appreciate it, I would like to chat with you about combining sentences and making them more complex. But that's a discussion for another time. Oh, if only because my last class that I took in grad school was teaching writing. Okay, so this is Birds of Prey 79. Look at that. Look at the Jaime. Okay. Hero
Ed Benes,
Hunters. Huh?
Ed Benes is
It
clearly.
is. He's back with in force. Hero Hunt. That's actually if I interview Gail Simone, which I would actually like to after her run. I have to figure out how to phrase this well, but I do wonder if there was like a tension between what she was trying to do internally and what is being shown on the outside. Like I'm really interested in that, like what she thinks about those covers. I mean, I think they're beautiful, but also arguably there are issues. There are issues
Right.
with them. Yeah. So that's
And
like,
that's what she's going to say because she's been asked that question before.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. I don't need to rabble rouse. I'm just interested.
No. And I think she also has said, more recently, like, ooh, when I look back on them now, oh yeah, they're just a lot more cheesecakey than I felt they were at the
Yeah.
time. At the time, I was focused on, do they look strong? Do they also look attractive?
Yeah.
Are their expressions telling the story?
Yeah.
And she also has said stuff like, at the time, this is how all the women were being portrayed. So like it didn't stick out
Sure.
much. We were so used to seeing them posed in those ways. But he also made them look amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah. So Hero Hunters Part 4, she rides the eye of a hurricane. And I've actually been forgetting to give the dates the cover dates, but basically January through May. So this one is April 2005. Gail Simone writer, artist Ed Benes, and colorist Hi-Fi Designs. And this is the DC solicit. So this is the one I couldn't find. Our friend took a break. It's Metropolis Mayhem in Hero Hunters Part 4. Chaos rides the dark alleys of Superman City as this is all misinformation, as if Superman's going to pop up, as the birds hunt the unpredictable and extremely dangerous Thorn. Thorn? I remember covering Thorn before, but I will say that Simone wrote a Rose and Thorn miniseries in 2004 that actually tweaked her origin. So there are some details that appear here. I think the split personality is one of them that I don't know previously, because I do remember covering a Rose and Thorn mini some time ago, but there are so many issues I do that I just can't tell you. You're shaking your head, so you know something.
No, I remember that. I remember pretty much just what you said. And I know in this issue, the phrase multiple personality disorder is used. I mean, I'm sure if it were written now, there would be a different phrase used. I shouldn't say I'm sure. I imagine that is probably what would happen.
There's another, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First point, OMG, Bat Jerk coming in hot.
I loved this scene.
Oh boy. Well, tell me all about it. Give me your thoughts on this scene.
Well, basically, it's Dinah telling Batman to lay off Helena. You need to be kind to her, you jerk. She's trying. And also, P.S., he should apologize to Oracle. And then she kind of softens and she's like, look, I know when you worry about people, when you're afraid for them, you hurt them until they leave. And I see this and I see you and I understand, but still stop being a jerk and be good to these women.
Yeah. So
Two
she does
thumbs
have
up.
some empathy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Dinah, I would say, has been advocating for Helena for a while, so I'm glad
Mhm.
that Helena has that. I also find it interesting that something that he's worried about potentially is losing her respect, because he actually pauses at that, right? Because no one treats them this way. No one. Are you threatening me, Canary? I'm not that stupid, but you will lose something if you don't fix this mess. My respect, Batman. And then there's a dot, dot, dot. I'll think about it. She also calls him Bruce, which I assume because of their time together on the Justice League that she would have known that. But it's just interesting that she uses Batman outwardly. Whereas, do you think it would have been more powerful had she said Bruce, lay off?
I don't know. I mean, maybe she is thinking that he will respond better if she calls him Batman.
I mean, if that's his actual identity too.
That's who he really is. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, I forgot about Creote in here. What are your thoughts on people who are Batman or Bat jerk apologists? Do you find them disgusting? Do
I
you think
can't
we should
imagine
send
why
them into exile?
can't imagine why you could be asking such a thing. I'm not engaging with this.
So you're saying in your silence, you're condoning we send Donovan Morgan Grant into exile.
Yeah, in my silence, I see that you're setting me up to say something that I know is really about Donovan, and I won't do it. I
Okay.
won't do it.
You heard it here first. Her silence
Oh, you
condoned.
didn't hear anything.
Goodbye, Donovan. It was nice knowing you. It's like that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where Scarecrow says death or exile. And then Commissioner Gordon says, "You're nuts if you think I'm gonna, whatever." And then he's like, "Okay, death by exile." And he has to walk across the ice. Could we do that to Donovan?
Anyway.
Okay, we'll move on. I will say I can't find it right now, but I did make a strong point that I just wanted listeners to know that I do not grade papers wearing such an outfit. However, I cannot find the page, but she's in a nightie.
It's right. It's the same page as
Is it? Oh, is it in the beginning?
It's in the middle of the back.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Look at that. You can't even see it very well. That's nuts. I don't wear that to grade my papers. Actually, I try not to bring papers home to grade, to be honest.
Wow, good for you.
Yes,
but no, that's not what I'm wearing either, for sure. I'm surprised you're not going on at more length about this whole Batman getting dressed down thing. I mean, haven't you wanted to see such a scene for a long time?
What? Well, yes. I just didn't want to like double over what you had said. We already set it up. No, listen, he's a jerk a lot of the time.
Mhm.
But I do have I understand to a certain extent, just like Dinah does, why he does what he does.
Mhm.
But someone does need to call him out for how he behaves towards certain people, especially Barbara. With Huntress, man, I just always go back to the fact that he gave Huntress Barbara's Batgirl outfit in No Man's Land. Which, my gosh, I mean, go back to that person, I guess, where you trusted her that much to take up that particular identity and give someone a shot. I mean, you keep trying to rehabilitate these bad guys, Joker and Two-Face. Like you give them more chances, I think, than you give Huntress. So 100%. She could have smacked him like Stephanie Brown. I mean, that's one of my favorite moments in comics is when Stephanie Brown gives him a smack on the face. Yeah, I think that was great. I couldn't believe when Bat Jerk popped up, but there aren't many people that would talk to him in this way. And Dinah is certainly, I think that speaks more to Dinah's character, honestly, than Batman. I think you just gain a lot of insight into who Dinah is, which, my gosh, how far she's come from like that beaten down character way back when in Chuck Dixon and not having this idea of what her purpose was, which I think we revisit in one of these issues as well. And now here we are as like this really strong field leader who's looking out for and advocating for her sisters.
Yeah. Yes. And she knows that herself, and she'll say as much in the next issue.
Absolutely. So I'm so sorry I didn't warn you, but we stumbled into porn. Boop, boop. So Creote literally, Creote answers the door naked. And she almost doesn't bat an eye. Who is it, Zinda? She
Zinda.
says, Mother Mary made it. Oh, I don't even I mean, she doesn't even look. I guess she looks down once, but she does a good job of keeping her eyes on. If this were a romance novel and it was her POV chapter, definitely there would be like italicized, like keep on his eyes, look at his eyes, look at his eye, instead of like don't look down, don't look down. Yeah.
She's looking at his cuticles, actually. She's classy like that.
That's nuts. Like he doesn't even put anything on. He just wanders into the kitchen and is still naked. Oh my gosh. She does talk about it. It's kind of a cultural thing. He says in Russia, men and women do not fear their bodies. Our bathhouses are the finest in the world. But you can tell, I think the main point is that she was looking for a savant, and savant is not there. And I think judging from his body language, you can tell that he is maybe a little bit upset, but that's as much as he's going to show. I don't know if they have yet to engage in a sexual relationship at this point.
That is what I was just about to ask you. I don't remember where we are with them at this point.
There have been hints and things, but we've not seen anything. I also don't know at this time in DC Comics if Gil Simone, do we even see anything? Do they kiss in this era? I just feel like DC Comics in 2005 would not have done this sort of thing. So it's all going to be subtext, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's what I mean. It'll be a joy for us to find out because we saw some nudity. Let's see here. The porn. Huntress. I did enjoy Huntress rediscovering her faith or her religion. And later on, she says it was less about the faith and more about the hope, which I thought was really beautiful and kind of that difference because certainly, faith, hope, and love are the three. They go together there. How worried should we be for Barbara Gordon at this point in time? So I think do we finally see a techno-organic? Oh, yeah, we kind of see this. My question is also, shouldn't a brain be able to withstand only so much? Because, I mean, giving the power or whatever is going on here, I feel like, couldn't her brain be overloaded at some point and we should be worried?
I think we should be worried. Yeah. Because we are just getting a tiny bit more in each issue.
Yeah.
And every time we move a little bit forward, she seems to be deeper and deeper into this situation.
Yeah.
That's not being spelled out for us, but we can we make some guesses as to what's happening? How are you interpreting this?
She's infected by Brainiac, is my guess, of some sort. I keep using this. I'm so sorry. A techno-organic virus is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But she's able to, which seems like almost a natural progression because she's so skilled on the web anyways. Well, now what if I can physically infiltrate the web and find the information? So it's like actually really clever and thoughtful, but anything to do with Brainiac, she should be maybe reconsidering what she's doing. And then does Brother Eye appear in this one, or is that the next one where she gets shut out? Because that was also scary.
That's the next one.
Okay. Because I see an eye, but it's not the exact eye. So it must be the next one. Yeah. I also get bad flashbacks from the bad Oracle. Remember the faux Oracle in one of whatever version of Batgirl that was?
The faux Oracle,
Yeah. Do you think Dinah and Helena should be eating at a diner in their hero gear?
Sure. But I love the way that comes up
later on.
Yes.
One
of my favorite scenes, I think. But yeah, I think there are a number of throughout Simone's run, there's a lot of we're all hanging out and eating together kind of thing, which I like because it's not an unusual thing for girlfriends to do. To meet and eat and talk. And also it's none of the women smiling while eating salad kind of.
No, I think someone might be having a healthy burger, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they have Italian, they have Chinese, they seem to be having burger and fry. Oh, no, well, it's called Krypton Taco.
Oh, yeah. But I do see fries.
Fries, yeah. Well, that's San Diego style, fries in the burrito.
Yeah. Within that scene, or maybe starting from it, we get flashbacks of these histories. because it's somewhat connected because Rose/Thorn lost her parents, which of course Helena can very much feel kindred spirit with that in her background. And then Dinah talks about her family and what it was like to have a cop and a hero as parents, and then of course Barbara and all of that. So what do you think about revisiting the history? And as I silently weep, we also find out in this continuity that Barbara was apparently a teenager when she was Batgirl, which is not how I learned it. But yeah, well, what do you think about this nice little retracing of history?
Well, right. She was supposed to originally, she already had her PhD when she became Batgirl, but I don't know. Does it actually say teenager?
Yeah, it does. Let me pull it out. I'm glad you asked that because I'm trying to get people to provide evidence when I cite things, but it says still a teenager and she wasn't intimidated by anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that ain't right. But at least she doesn't look 12.
No.
I mean, she looks, if they're saying teenager, at least she looks 19 and not 14.
Yeah.
I like just as a panel, I like that JSA spread across.
Oh, yeah.
Sepia toned JSA spread. Yeah, the flashback thing, it could just be partly about you're doing a little recap for people who either don't know the history of the characters or people who maybe kind of are so into the present day stuff that's happening that they're not kind of putting together how their famous parents are affecting what they do or how they approach stuff. So I thought for both of those reasons it was good. And I think it's the nice looking sequences as well.
Yeah. I would hope that they would have had this conversation previously, that this is not the first time Helena is hearing of the other people's pasts. But yeah, it's also
Yes, but Helena does say, what's the deal with Oracle then? I mean, maybe she felt like Dinah wouldn't be that forthcoming before this. I mean, it takes Dinah and Helena a while to what was the first one of Simone's run? 58, maybe?
Do you mean Dinah or do you mean Babs?
I did mean Dinah, actually, because she's asking Dinah what's the deal with Oracle. Yeah. And so maybe she doesn't know if Dinah's going to answer her before that or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you, if someone was asking you about somebody else? What's the deal with this other person that we know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Whereas she could have gone to the source, but maybe Huntress is still a bit shy about going and asking personal details about friends call me Babs.
When does Helena even know that it's Barbara?
I can't recall when that was revealed, but it has been revealed.
Right, but it wasn't right off the bat.
It was not, no.
Yeah, so I think maybe it's just a time issue.
Yeah. I think, Barbara's still holding some things. I think there's a lot with Barbara. I mean, we could like psychoanalyze this woman, which we're going to have to at the end anyways. But however forthcoming she seems, I think that there's still a lot like subconsciously that she does and that she holds back to a certain extent because, maybe with the dick thing, maybe with I personally wouldn't get over a Huntress wearing my old outfit if I were Barbara. Personally, I'm still holding on to that grudge too. And this is a fictional character. So yeah, I don't know.
And by wearing my old outfit, you also mean what she did with Dick.
Yes, absolutely.
But here's another thing. Maybe that whole bit is really to get to the point where Dinah says, if I ever get 5 minutes alone with the Joker, right? Like she's recapping Barbara's life. Then she's going to recap the part with the Joker. Then she's going to say, if I ever get 5 minutes alone with him. And then that enables them to have
this conversation about lines.
Conversation in a different way. But you're having it, you're forcing the reader to think about that ethical dilemma, not about Alice and Harvest, two people that they never heard of before this, and they might not feel anything about, but the Joker.
Yeah.
Probably most, if not all people reading this know who the Joker is.
Yeah.
And when they think about what stuff the Joker has done, maybe, then maybe the line is in a different place for people to cross or not cross.
Yeah. Maybe. And it goes from a mother losing a parent to innocent children, to then someone you love that's been victimized by somebody else. Do you think it's true that everyone has a line or moment that they would cross into murder? into committing murder.
Well, I'm not sure when she says everyone has a line they'll cross. I don't know if that means murder. I mean, I think that line could be different for different people. Like some people say they would never do any violence of any kind, like they would never even hit someone, but there might be a line they would cross there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Helena still wrestling with how do you know we're right and they're wrong? And where is the line and that kind of stuff. And then that gets them into the whole part about we're choosing to do right, but what if we had grown up differently? Maybe we wouldn't choose to do right. Maybe we'd make the same choices as these women.
Yeah. It is. I will say though, connect, because that was a great discussion that they had. And that makes the reader consider. But then when we're at that last scene and Huntress, she's going on and on about these lines and when do we cross them and who's to say who's right. And then she does something so fatally potential as blowing Thorne's tires out on a motorcycle when Thorne is not wearing protective gear. I'm like, where did this come from? And even she instantly regrets it. She's like, I had to make, her not get away.
Not only is she not wearing protective gear, she's barely wearing anything at all.
That is correct. Yes. And she immediately gets shot too.
This is one of the most ridiculous outfits in the history of outfits.
Oh, are you looking at a particular page? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. How's that? It's strings. Yes. String. I don't even know. Well, I guess you can kind of look at that, but yeah, it's like, I don't even know how that works, frankly. Well, do you think a boob would have popped out at some point?
I think everything would have popped out at some point.
As she's flying through the air with the greatest of ease, like a trapeze.
Right. Well, right. And she's doing that half squat thing that I was criticizing on the previous cover as well. But yeah, the shooting out the tire, I mean, it's not safe to shoot out a tire on a car. Shooting out a tire on a motorcycle is fatal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there are all these strings that like connect in different areas. These go down into the bottoms. Man, there are so many butt shots in this issue. Dinah butt shot. Man, there's a full page of butt shots over in the backflash scene that I was noticing.
Well, and when Thorne, spoilers for what we're going to say in 2 minutes, when Thorne has been shot on the last page, she's still managing to have perfect posture and stick her chest out as she's shot in the abdomen.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough to take.
Maybe,
but but why does Helena do it?
Spur of the moment. Sometimes she's not thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there had to have been. It's not like they were losing her. But
no.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would have been the best way to. Any other thoughts on this issue?
No, I liked it. Got solid. It's got solid birds bonding stuff. It's got the whole Batman thing.
Yeah.
We have a little Zinda and Naked Creote, which is fun. We're getting a little bit more about what's going on with Babs. We get a flashback and flashbacks and this discussion about right and wrong. I mean, I think this issue has an awful lot going for it.
Sure does.
And also butts.
Lots of butts, lots of peaches. Yep.
Boobs. There's boobs too. There's boobs.
That defy gravity.
Yes.
Okay, well then we get to Birds of Prey 80, which is the cover that they used for the trade. Just FYI. Hero Hunters finale, The Cold Light of Day, May 2005 is the cover date. Gail Simone writer, artist Ed Benes, and colors Hi-Fi Design. Thorne is in the hospital after being shot by a policeman. Huntress and Canary are in the waiting room, still in their gear, and this is when they had that chat about doing normal civvy activities in their gear. A detective comes to speak with Huntress and Black Canary, and they realize no one is watching Thorne's room. They run to the room and see that Thorne is gone. Some corrupt cops have made off with her. Huntress, Canary, and the detective give pursuit. Thorne gets away, and Huntress and Canary return to the Airy One. Huntress gets into an argument with Barbara Gordon and seemingly quits the team, which this is all very vague, but we will go into what exactly happens. And I will say that Thorne, because this wasn't talked about at all, is accused of murder, so that's why people are going after her, and she actually is not the one to have done it. It is somebody else, which we can also talk about. So, yes, this is where Brother Eye appears, which will be big in I guess in this year, right? 2005 is Infinite Crisis here, is it not?
I think so.
Oh my word. Yeah, there he is popping up there. Which, speak of Bat Jerk, he's the one who did it. What do you think about
Yep.
Batman? Have we ever talked about this? Batman tries all of these things and they never work out. So we've got Tower of Babel. We've got, well, War Games. Trying to think, there's definitely other things where he thinks like this is a foolproof plan. Brother Eye, yet another one. Well, I mean, what's going on with this guy?
He's an overconfident rich person.
Okay. You think it's white man entitlement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
It's just nuts that every time he plans something, he thinks that it can't fail. And then when it does, he's like, well, I'll try again next time and it'll be better.
Yeah, like Thomas Jefferson. How'd that do for the broke? Yeah, I said it.
How could you?
Because we were at Monticello together.
I know.
Information.
Oh, yes.
And I really didn't know the extent, honestly, of all the stuff that he had spent a ton of money on and tried to do that did not go well at all. Like, was it maple trees, different kinds of grapes? Yeah, that's why he was in debt.
Oh, yeah, big time.
That plus big parties.
Oh, of course. Well, you're a statesman, you're entertaining people.
Not if you can't afford it. He couldn't afford it, not paying for any labor. I mean, how bad of a money manager do you have to be to get? Okay. Anyway.
Man, she's on her soapbox here. And here I am, a graduate of his university twice. But anyways, Huntress shooting the cop. I thought her line was funny. I had to be sure how I phrased that when she says, "What? He'll be fine. He's in a hospital." Because of course they looked at her like, "Are you kidding me?"
And this is where Venice pulls off his art, right? Because he has just this great expression on her face saying that. I mean, it's toward the end.
Oh gosh, I forgot about the weird Babs hair. Professor, my chief hair correspondent, Professor Cheapskate, please let us know what you think about her frazzled hair.
I was forgiving the crazy hair here because she just pulled the mask off.
Yes. And I wondered, did she get somewhat electric shocked by Brother Eye? So maybe. Yeah, this is the one like actually doing like the emoji of your hands are up kind of thing. Dinah, I will say, comics, obviously we have to suspend disbelief, but when someone jumps off and a height and grabs something on their way down with 9.8 meters per second square following you, arm out of socket.
Yes.
So I will say I did not potentially like that too much. I thought that what did you think about this transition from Dinah telling Mercado that Thorne didn't kill Deadlock to Mercado then arresting Mr. Quincy, like just figuring it out after that and going after him and be like, you're the one who did it and set up Thorne?
Well, I think that if Quincy is supposed to be one of the 100 crime people, then Mercado would know that. Right. I mean, if you're a detective, you probably know who the big wigs of crime are in your vicinity.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it was something I'm sure he assumed he was doing something nefarious. And when Dinah said that, then he could just kind of turn to him and be like, oh, yeah, it's clearly you.
Okay. Kind of like if it was like Kingpin or something there, he'd be like,
that's the way
it's probably Kingpin. Yeah.
That's the way I was taking it. Okay. I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know if Mr. Quincy, well, we know the 100 appear in this Rose and Thorn miniseries. So had I more time in my life, I would have read that to give background on Rose/Thorn, because she does actually seem like I will say, because we haven't really talked about her too much, she does seem like a really interesting character. I think similar to Black Alice, I was intrigued as, who is this person? What's her relationship with this cop? Because he calls her at one point to warn her, more so Rose than Thorn. But yeah, we don't know too many details. So maybe Mr. Quincy was in that miniseries. And if you had read that, you would know.
Okay.
Maybe.
He says this whole thing about how you killed my partner and got away with it.
Yeah.
And then he kind of is piecing together what has happened here with the partner.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's how he's coming to that conclusion.
Potentially. I didn't think it was the most straightforward, but
That's fair.
the birds are contemplating a vacation, which I will just say that that's great and all, but I don't understand how Huntress manages teaching. Still don't. Never have. And yeah, do you have any thought? I mean, you're a professor. You have I don't want this to sound offensive, but you have an easier schedule in that it's usually like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So you have some leeway with when you do it. But if you're like in high school, you're there every day from, whenever to
Indeed.
4 p.m. So I just don't know how you, Tom and I always, just are flummoxed at Huntress's schedule.
It makes no sense. And before we get to the end, and I'm kind of looking at them, we said we would mention it and we didn't, that at the very beginning, when they first get to the hospital, that's when they talk about having costume regret.
Ah, yes.
Which is this idea that their costumes are designed to look cool at night. And when you're wearing them like under fluorescent lights in daylight, you feel kind of silly wearing them and you have costume regret.
Yeah, which is very interesting. How would you break down the percentage of aesthetic versus utility?
I think if your ass is hanging out, there's not that much utility. Which seems to be the way that the birds are drawn.
They keep I was gonna say they keep making fun of Dinah and her fishnets, but that's the new birds of prey that we'll talk about. Because the fishnets aren't as bad. I mean, at least like she's got this full on outfit up top. But
yeah, I like the zip up thing. Yes. I think that's cool.
Because she's more protected than Huntress is.
Huntress's outfit it doesn't really make sense because it's just sort of, there's so much mask, which is not aerodynamic, and you've got this kind of crazy belt thing. What is the purpose of that?
I couldn't say.
So that it has no utility. No cape really ever has utility. So Huntress is all looking cool. And I can't remember what issue it is where she's asked about like, why is your whole midriff not covered? Did you read
that? There was a previous one.
He says, I because I do 300 sit-ups a day and I'm going to show it off or something like that.
Hey man, I'd do it too. I will say that on this cover, you can see a peaked nipple.
Ah.
So going in there, Benes.
Anything where you're wearing, women know this, anytime you're wearing something that is basically a leotard or bikini underwear or bathing suit shaped, if you move in the wrong direction, you're gonna get a wedgie, right? So there's really nothing practical about any superhero who's wearing something underwear shaped, unless those underwear are outside pants or tights of some kind.
Yes. Oh boy. So then we get into it. This is it. Donovan always gets on me that I never hold my own girl accountable. So we'll do it. We'll take that bat jerk apologist to task.
Here goes.
I will say that is also another strange transition because we talk about happiness and vacation talk to suddenly Huntress is doing some introspection. Mm-hmm. If I were to summarize, please tell me if I'm incorrect. As Huntress is considering everything, she realizes that in a way she was almost set up with these 3 missions for her to kind of inwardly look at herself and being a vigilante and her rules and ethics of everything. What else would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of starting with, yes, we should take a vacation because we did a good job. And here's why we did a good job. And this is what we did. And looking at them made me think about myself. But then Dinah kind of interjects with, I felt that way when I went on my first missions with Oracle too. I was having problems with X, Y, and Z, and Oracle brought me in to take down this particular creep. And this particular guy, something about this mission and this guy really it reminded me of who I was. what an interesting coincidence. And then Helena is like, yeah, coincidence. But there are no coincidences with Barbara, are there? And then she comes out with it.
Yeah, and I would say that the most important panel for me is when Huntress is in her face and says, "I'm a teacher, Barbara. I know what to do with the quote unquote troubled kids. You
Yeah, that's
separate
tough.
them from their usual group, you get them alone, you give them tasks to keep them busy." And Barbara's saying, it's not like that, but her face is so resigned that I can't really imagine she's fighting too much on this. Yeah, you get them out of
Yeah,
their
I
comfort
agree.
zone, like sending a city girl on 3 backwoods missions in a row. And you put her in with the good kids, the together kids, the popular and the well-behaved. You bribe them with gifts and friendship. And then that's when she says, oh, wait, I forgot. Oh, because she says, isn't that right? Oh, I should go back even farther. It's a rehab center for broken superheroes. Isn't that right, Barbara? Oh, wait, I forgot. Your friends call you Babs. So nice little ring composition.
And then it gets even worse.
Oh, yeah, I thought that. I believed what you, damn it, I trusted you. Congratulations, Babs. You wanted to escape Batman's influence, but you're just like him. And Babs says, Helena, I didn't know you then, which I do have a question about that. And then Helena repeats just like him, which for me and for Babs, probably that's got to be like a dagger to the heart. And she's trying to leave. Dinah's trying to get her to stay. Zinda's up there blissfully out of that, but also like, uh-oh. And Dinah does try to get Babs to fix it. And Dinah is saying, I was trying to help. Or sorry, Babs is saying, Dinah, I was trying to fix it. And yeah, Dinah runs after her. And Huntress left her crossbow and her mask. I'm surprised she didn't leave her earpieces or, any of that. She's gone, Babs. She's gone.
Oof.
Yes. So many questions about this. First of all, what do you think she means by saying I didn't know you then? I didn't know you then, because the then would be like, you mean you didn't know her before that first mission we did in issue 76? Or
Yeah.
was this planned like way far in advance? Like what does that mean?
Yeah, I took it to mean that they weren't friends when Barbara's basically admitting it.
Yes.
And this is where again Bennis has an awful lot of curves, too many curves. I mean, crazy amounts of curves and curvy things hanging out of their clothes. But he really does do these expressions well.
Yeah.
Like Barbara clearly is folding immediately. Like she looks guilty immediately when Helen starts confronting her, and she just looks even more defeated in every panel.
Yeah.
So when she's saying, I didn't know you then, it's in the context of she's already looked like she knows what Helena is saying is true in several previous panels. Therefore, I took it like, yes, you're right. I did come up with this idea to sort of rehabilitate you. I didn't know you then, but we really are friends now. Like, yes, I had that intent in the beginning, but it's different now because I really do consider you my friend and something. That's how I read it.
Yeah, it's just, I agree with you, but in terms of this arc, I think that's too soon to see because it's happened just in a matter of days. So the then should be like way back when. Like maybe if she fomented this plan that, hey, I'm going to find missions that speak to her. But if she's saying my friends call me Babs in issue 76, which was their first mission, then that can't be the then. So that's my only thing is like, when is this? When did you not start regretting this by that point? Or you're still okay when we go to find Lori / Black Alice? So that's my only thing of like, when is this mysterious then? Because yeah, I would be on. Yeah, if she is on the team now, she's not necessarily Babs isn't trusting Huntress. She wants to knock out this vigilante. That would be the then.
But Huntress is in the very first issue of this run, and that's 58.
Yeah. So you think she started this way back when?
I don't know. Why does she calls in? All right, I'm trying to look back at my notes now because I don't remember. Like, isn't it that Dinah's in trouble and Barbara calls in Huntress to
Yeah, I
save
think
Dinah?
Dinah was in prison in order to get to Creote and Savant, if I'm remembering correct. Oh, wait, no. Oh, Dinah's legs were broken because she was kidnapped
Right.
by
The
Creote
legs.
and Savant. Yes.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah,
That
it was a rehash of Longbow Hunters.
right. And then it gives you kind of this interesting thing where the two of them are in wheelchairs together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's there in the beginning. And then there's the stuff with Vixen and the cult, right? And isn't Huntress part of that too? Doesn't she go to try to deal with that too?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I know what you're
And this
talking about.
is,
Yep.
yeah,
Oh, yes, that cult. Yep. Yeah,
yeah.
and she was,
This
I
is
mean,
in
she's basically
those.
on board from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's been around for longer.
Yeah. So you think that Barbara Gordon, once she figured out that Huntress was there to stay, came up with this plan?
Or maybe she came up with it in the very beginning, but didn't really know Huntress was going to stick around till now. But maybe she targeted her for rehabilitation
Yeah,
or
but it
saving her for Batman or whatever.
so I unfortunately am going to say that this is really manipulative. It's one thing having a plan, but it's another thing enacting it by choosing specific missions, which she had to have done. So even if she came up with this plan long time ago, I think when she gave her the teaching position, she should have dropped that plan. There was no reason to have this plan and the teaching position. But no, she held on to the plan and then she found three, because there are definitely other crimes that were going about. She found three specific ones that suited Huntress's needs.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay, so it's not good. Do you think that this is Barbara Gordon, though? Does this make sense for her character?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it does because I think Barbara is very planful and organized. And I think she wants to, sort of forge sisterhood. And I think she has empathy for her fellow superheroes and maybe particularly for Helena, who maybe if things were different, she would have been close to before now. And so this plan kind of captures all three of those buckets of her personality.
Yeah. Could we give Barbara the benefit of the doubt and say like her intentions were good, is just like the impact was bad?
I am giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think she's just like Batman. But I
Okay,
thought
that was one of my questions.
I don't. I mean, I think that it's well written, and I think that Helena is the only person who could say it.
Yeah.
So it kind of built in this direction in an organic way, and I appreciated the way that it was constructed. But yeah, I do think she was well-meaning.
Yeah.
I think I mean, even saying it's a rehab center for broken superhero and heroines. So Babs is trying to help broken superheroines. That's not inherently a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you are manipulating grown women.
Yeah. I would say that Batman, I feel like Batman uses people and even Cass calls him out for that. And I don't think that this is what Barbara is doing.
No, these missions are real.
Yeah.
So she's just prioritized, of all the missions they could be doing, she's prioritized these in order to help build their confidence.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yes. Do you think that she thought Huntress wouldn't figure this out?
Yeah.
Because Dinah didn't figure it
Dinah
out
hasn't
herself?
figured.
I know, and Dinah's like scratch. I don't know what that says about Dinah.
Well, I think we were always supposed to think I mean, in the Dixon run, that Barbara was the brains and Dinah was the brawn, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So
yeah. Do you think Dinah should be upset now that there's this realization?
I think Dinah has known Barbara long enough to know that she's a good person.
Yeah.
But maybe Helena has not. I mean, Barbara and Dinah have been through a lot together at this point.
Yeah.
Tough.
This whole thing, yeah, it was shocking. I was not expecting it. I was just like looking at these like disconnected stories. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting how these like themes are coming up, and there's a little through line and some good philosophical questions. And then all of this stuff happens at the very end, and I'm like, good Lord, I felt slapped in the face. I was like, what has just happened? The team is in shatters. Zinda's like, good Lord. Yeah. Oof. And then
I just thought that the five of them together, I thought were very well constructed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think that this makes or breaks it though? Like without it, would it have been a completely different story?
Without this part at the end?
Yeah.
Well, but I know what comes after this.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
I feel like with Barbara dabbling in this business that I don't like, the brainiac, that she needs all the friends she can get. And she's pushing people away accidentally.
well, Barbara can get overconfident as well.
Oh, Barbara, no. Don't be like him. Do you feel like this arc encapsulates what this era of Birds of Prey is, where they kind of just jet set around and go where they are needed, and it's more, it stays in the country rather than international threats?
Yeah, I don't love when I don't think that many superhero stories do a good job with international threats. This is something I wrote about in my much less award-winning book.
Which book?
Called Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, Militarism and Feminism in Comics and Film.
That interview is like 5 years overdue.
God. No, wait, didn't we do it?
No. That was because of You Cannot Be Blamed, but the timeline of what was going on in your life at that time. But I do own the book, and I'm still willing to have that conversation.
My God, I thought we did it. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right that I'm an afterthought in your life.
But yeah, so one of the main things I was writing about in that book was how you have these kind of strong, seemingly feminist characters, but when you put them in these international situations, what the way they often get written, and this is by different artists and writers, is that they tend to like be exoticizing and othering people from other countries, and that they tend to be brown and faceless or nameless or whatever, they're just, and you just sort of have these white people saving them. So I think that in general, a lot of these stories can be more successful if they are more domestic.
Yeah.
You just have to take more care with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look neo-colonial, white savior, imperialist, because we have a lot of examples of that in the past. And I think the old Birds of Prey is guilty of that.
Oh,
Dixon's
went to
Birds of Prey.
Kandak and other places. Yeah. Well, final thoughts on this issue and Hero Hunters overall?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. There's a ton going on about ethics and morality and violence and empathy and help and friendship and sisterhood. And it's also fun and funny in parts. So I think it's a good encapsulation of a lot of the things that Simone and Bendis do really well together.
And it sure does kick you in the pants at the very end.
Tough end.
Yeah. What would you give this out of 10 Babs prescribed therapies or naked creotes?
I guess I will give it do I have to do 0.5s?
You don't have to. You're allowed to, unlike
I would get somewhere from an 88 to a 90 out of 100. So
okay.
8.8 to 9 abdominal muscles on Helena and Creote.
Oh, yes, Helena. Yeah, Bendis didn't even draw striations of her abs. Yeah, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 naked mini Creotes that were shadowed out. Yes, I thought we were going to follow Black Alice the entire 5 issues, and then we shifted. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. But it was interesting. And again, the through line of themes and getting to know people, especially I think Huntress and Dinah, and building that team, continuing to do that. And then that big shebang at the end, which really I feel like pulled the rug out of me, under me, on quite honestly. When I read it, I was not expecting all of that to go down. But yeah, very intriguing. And again, yeah, really kudos to, it seems simple, but I love the fact that Simone began and ended with the friends call me Babs. Because that's like a slap in the face after she was stabbed twice by you're just like Batman, because that's like the worst thing in the world to be called.
Mhm.
Okay. And you're sticking with us?
I read Birds of Prey 1 through 9 today, so I'm in.
Okay, then you have to. For listener emails, there was only one YouTube comment from episode 245, which came from our soon to be exiled friend, Donovan Morgan Grant. And he just said, "Daw, thank you," because I wished him a very special birthday. Though, because it's the same day as the birth of Rome, we really prefer that over Donovan's birth. Okay.
There's an actual day to that. I mean, of course, I know it's 750
Yes, April
because
21st, the
everybody
parade.
knows that.
Absolutely, you better. Yeah, April 21st. So isn't that really, what an honor that Donovan was born on that very day?
Romulus Remus Donovan.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to review Birds of Prey Volume 5, Number 9. But first, Zias's Radio Hour featuring Dimension by Wolf Mother. Okay, and we're back. It's going to be lopsided, but that usually happens with these episodes anyway. So this will be a shorter half. So this is Birds of Prey, Volume 5, Number 9, World Without End, Part 1. Writer Kelly Thompson, art Jonathan Case and Gavin Guidry, and colors Jordi Belair. And I'm assuming that the art splits when they go into the other dimension because of the style change, that those would be the two, but I don't know who does what. This is from the publisher synopsis. If the Birds of Prey have one mission, it's protect Barbara Gordon at all costs. And that mission is not going great. Dinah and her team search for Barbara in this strange new world that seems specifically designed to trip them up. Many mysteries lurk in the dark of this world, and some of them don't even want to kill you, probably. So here we go. So you have, I'll ask you this just because you're a first time speaker on this, and you just said that you read 1 through 9. What are you thinking of this era of Birds of Prey, the Kelly Thompson era?
Well, I know when it first started, I had trepidation like, what is this team? Why isn't Barbara running it? And I was not feeling great about that. But then people I trusted pretty immediately were like, yeah, but it's Kelly Thompson and it's pretty good. And that was definitely what I found today. I just thought, and it was actually really fun to read them just all in a row. And so I would give it the same compliments that I was just giving the older issues that we were talking about. You've got this camaraderie and sisterhood and people caring for each other. You've got this humor, but you also have like, these are formidable women and you do not want to mess with them. They're coming for you.
Yeah, you certainly do not. Thoughts on this cover?
I think this cover is cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's showing you straight out who you're dealing with, and Barbara is foregrounded, which I think is great. I like the transition with the colors. And I like that everyone is wearing a pretty different outfit.
Yes.
It's not like the old days where all the women were dressed exactly the same.
No, it is certainly not. Yeah. Yeah. The cover, and I think the art internally, I really enjoyed the art this issue. I liked both sides of it. I liked the transition to when they're in this portal, and just the style, the costume changes, the tonal colors. Yeah, really inventive and clever and just great art.
And it's a little, I don't want to say blurry, but it's like hazy.
Yeah, definitely has like a fog effect going on. Yeah.
It's just like it's not sharp. Even the people in it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but yeah. So I did like both sides of it as well.
Absolutely. Golly. Yeah. It's funny because I feel like not a lot actually happened in this particular issue. If you think about it, like they fell through the portal, they found Barbara Gordon, but Barbara Gordon is not Barbara Gordon. And then they go to another portal. But I had a lot of fun with it. There are a lot of great lines. I mean, it even starts out with somebody touching someone else in a bad place. And I'm like, who? I wonder who is saying this. And then it tells them to move their hand. And then, I mean, he's like, don't move your hand like that. My favorite line, well, there are probably two. I really like Barda saying that she had bad news, and Dinah's like, no more bad news. And then Barda says, you cannot refuse bad news, Dinah. But my favorite line is when they find in a hole. And Vixen says, the great Barbara Gordon felled by a hole. The indication, so this is not actually the real Barbara Gordon, which we find out later on. And it is Cassandra to tell us that this is not the right Barbara. Cassandra's kind of looking shifty-eyed right here at this bottom page. Mm-hmm. But it's really after this running that Cass grabs Dinah and says, that's not Barbara. Do you feel like of all the people, it would have been Cassandra to spot that this was a fake? And would you say it's because of the movement? And we know Cass's ability to see someone and know them by their movements?
Yeah, that's exactly how I took it. And that's why she says it after the running.
Yeah.
Because what she actually says, dialogue wise, doesn't seem that off, right? So it has to be something about the movement.
Yeah. No, our everything else except for there's like a weird mannerism that Dinah's narration box says Barbara looks as nervous as I feel. And that's like a little sheepish, but otherwise, yeah, I don't I mean, it could nothing. I was shocked when it wasn't Barbara, so I wasn't put off by anything. So I think, yeah, it's all movement based. Golly, yeah. Just man, the use of colors and the art is just like I'm just looking at this page where Dinah is using her sonic cry to knock the faux Barbara out, and then there's like this holographic effect almost with the pinks and the blues. It's just
Yeah.
really great. Danny the Street reference, which admittedly I had
loved
to
it.
look up. I was like, who's Danny the
Wow.
Street? But I thought that was great.
You didn't watch the Doom Patrol show?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well,
Do you recommend the Doom Patrol show?
I do.
Okay.
It's crazy, and I got sucked into it.
Oh.
And yeah, I think it's worthwhile.
Okay. Good to know. Just like, what show did we watch when I visited you?
Oh, Titans.
Titan. Yeah, we watched Titans. And then what was that show we watched on Skype that one time with the kids?
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights. I never followed through with that. Did you finish watching that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I remember that was a fun experience though to watch with
It
you.
was. That was a good way to do it or to deal with it.
Yes. I was shocked about Zealot reappearing because I thought, oh, we're done with Zealot. We're done with Harley Quinn.
I thought so too.
Yes. So this is interesting. So Meridian, even though she went through the portal, it knocked her back and she goes to find someone that can help her out. Zealot's a cool customer or maybe a cold customer as always, and kind of is calling into question Dinah putting the lives of everyone else at stake just for Barbara Gordon. But she's coming along for the ride and we'll see. And again, a half naked man. Does your partner, does he open the door half naked?
He does not.
This is what all men do.
Not all men. But since I read all 9 of them today, I can tell you that the previous time we saw him, he also wasn't wearing a shirt.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Which is kind of funny continuity. Maybe he just doesn't. He's clearly quite fit, so maybe that's just a thing.
And he's in his home. Is he also drinking the coffee out of the carafe? He's like drinking it out of the pot.
Looks like it.
Man.
He likes coffee a lot, I guess.
Do you know anything about this Zealot person?
I was going to ask you that.
Oh.
Because I'm not really up to date in on other stuff.
No, I just did my kind of tangential research when she first came on the scene. So I only did a little bit of stuff. But I'm glad she reappeared because when she left, I was thinking to myself, I have so many questions and now they're never going to be answered. So here she is again. And so maybe we'll get some more answers. And then, yeah, we don't, I would say I have no idea what's going on. Do you have any guesses? We do something. The only thing we get is that it seems like Barbara is somehow doing it. I'm trying to think of where this particular line was.
Is it Barbara's pretty twisted inside, huh?
Yeah. This is some sort of landscape that she's like a mental landscape. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that either Barbara somehow made it or whatever entity is doing what they're doing here somehow pulled this from Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am curious.
I love it. Yeah. Is there anyone you can think of off the top of your head that would have this sort of power set?
No.
Okay.
Because it doesn't seem like a scarecrow thing.
No. Unless everyone's subjected to the madness.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem like that. So no, I really don't know. I like the whole that there's something going on with the red and the green.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, Was wondering if we would pull someone in from the green. Since we just have Mari, and Mari said she's not connected. That was the first bad news, that she doesn't have it. The second bad news is that Barda doesn't have her power stick. And
Yeah.
nobody has any of their weapons at
Again.
all. So
Mhm.
that's the big thing. Does this seem like someone, do you think that this is a new creation by Thompson, or do you think it's going to be someone that knows and loathes Barbara very much in her history?
I don't know. I think it could, I mean, it certainly could be either. Like the whole thing with Sin and Megara is different.
True. Yeah.
So this could just be something else like that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we have met people who do mind altering stuff.
Yeah. Very true.
So is this really a portal to another place, or is it just a portal to some different kind of mind space and this is magic? Like there's a range of people that
Yeah. It could be like, remember Harley Quinn? Was that the most recent one where they went into her mind because she was accidentally doing stuff when she was sleepwalking?
Okay.
Do you remember that? And they're like different, different Harleys would appear in different places in there. I can't remember how the little guy sent them in there, I think. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, it'll come to me later.
It's quite all right. But yeah, I don't know if we're in pockets of her mind. Who knows? So does that mean Barbara Gordon's trying to kill Barbara Gordon?
Well, I don't think we know quite what's going on with Barbara Gordon, right?
No, we certainly do not.
Someone from the future is trying to kill Barbara Gordon, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So this must be related to that. So is this that the person from the future is doing this, or is this some kind of, so is this whatever all this is this to get the birds away from Barbara?
Oof.
Or is this just somehow some weird thing that we're going to find out is helping the birds figure out what to do to help Barbara?
I don't know. It's all a big mystery. I have no answers.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of a setup issue in many ways.
Any other thoughts on issue 9?
No, just curious to I think it looks great, and I'm curious to see where it goes. Did 100%. You see that at the end there's an ad for a Dreamer story?
I saw that, written by Dreamer herself, Nicole Maines.
Yeah, so I think that's cool.
That is absolutely cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I guess she had already written something.
Yeah. I remember reading about it ages ago, and then I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I can see why it sort of went into that COVID space.
Yeah, she said she went in pre-world shutdown 2020 with a pitch to DC offices. Man. Yeah, that's great. Like coming from screen to page.
Like Iman Vellani writing Ms. Marvel.
Oh, yes. May she rest in peace.
I'm not that worried. I think it's going to work out.
You think Ms. Marvel is going to resuscitate from death?
I thought she did.
Oh, did she? I don't know. I've just been so...
She's just a mutant. Isn't she just a mutant now?
But, I thought she was a mutant, but then she was killed off in Spider-Man. So as long as she's revived from that, I guess we're okay.
Yeah, she got better pretty quickly.
She got better from death? Oh, comics. You cracked me up. Oh, boy. Yeah. Okay, well, what would you give this out of 10? Inappropriate touches?
It's hard because there isn't really a lot happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what's here is good. It just isn't a lot on its own.
Yeah.
So an 8, maybe?
Yeah. 8 and 8 or an 8.5. Yeah. I forgot to say that in that dog pile, Barda's on the bottom and she's like, I'm getting up now. And everyone's like, no, because they're about to be flung to the ground.
I loved the earlier ones when she's calling Cass Little Bat and Small Bat. So adorable.
Would you do you think it would sell a Big Barda, Cassandra Cain, buddy cop miniseries?
100%. Yes, bring it.
Yes, it would have to be written by Kelly Thompson though, because I don't think anyone else would be able to understand how these two are interacting. But 100%, I think it'd be great.
Barda cast Steph.
Ooh, wow! I wonder what Steph would be like adding that into the mix.
I don't know,
Even
but I
more
just think the
zaniness.
way Barda just says these so funny, dry, matter of fact, literal things.
She sure does. I mean, she
And
ripped off her
says,
costume in the previous issue. And then she pulled a Scarlett O'Hara. Did you see?
she tried to own people as slaves.
Oh my gosh. She wore curtains.
Yeah, I know.
But anyways. Okay, so we're going on a new segment inspired by one of my friends over at Required Reading is maybe not. I can't remember who suggested this, but this is now called Stella's Dungeon of Smut because I read so much that I might as well just put it in here. But I will only recommend ones that I think that you should read, so 4 stars and above. But I have 2 questions. So I said, Donovan, do you have any questions for the good Professor Cocca? And he wonders if you have a favorite erotica. And also, do you have a favorite erotic fan fiction that you've read that has featured DC comic characters?
I'm sorry, I know this is disappointing, but no and no.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is disappointing. Okay, well, you were almost just like us, but now you are no longer. Okay, let's see. 4 stars yes?
Did you? I just thought of something though.
Please.
Sunstone. Stepan Sajić's.
Whoa, yes. That is
I'm very out of date on that. I mean, I think I only read the first volume and there's been quite a bit more, but I thought that was really good.
Yes, and that in fact was pretty erotic. Now, something that I wonder about the BDSM community and beliefs. Do you know anything about the community culture belief system? No, man. I just don't know who to ask. But it seems like, and I don't know, because I've read all of those. I don't know if it gets into it in volume 1, but it seems like BDSM almost, sorry to use this word, but trumps or is, I don't know, it's just like above sexual orientation. So even though you might be engaging woman, they don't consider themselves a lesbian because it's more about the BDSM. That was kind of the thing that I was getting in some of those volumes. And I wonder about that. Like, oh, so you're just like, it's more the dom sub is like the sexual orientation rather than anything else. But you can't answer that question for me. So it's still a question that I have. Someone can reach out to me if you are a member of the BDSM culture and let me know. Yeah. See, I always forget where I am here. I will say Aaron Hawkins, surprisingly us. I did give that 4 stars. I didn't think from the preview, I did not like the guy, but he was actually better in the actual novel. Something that happened though on Goodreads is that people were review bombing this book before it even came out because they didn't like the preview or the guy. So they were giving it 1 star, which I think Goodreads need to fix that so that you can't review it unless it's actually out. I will also say, just looking through all of these here, Bittersweet Heart by Helena Hunting, which is about a professor and a student. But don't worry, they wait until she's no longer the student. It starts with a one-night stand, but they didn't know. And then it was really good. I will recommend that. And so it was really good. I tried the other 2. They're not as good. The Graham Effect by L. Kennedy, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend. And then the final one that I read, The Dixon Rule, which just came out. I kind of team read that with Donovan, also by L. Kennedy, 4 out of 5. So there you go. So that's Stella's Dungeon of Smut. Now we'll move on to my literature recommendations. Before I do that, do you have anything that you're reading that you would like to recommend to the people?
Yes, I wrote it down a few things that I read recently that I would recommend.
Okay.
The first 3 are nonfiction. Number 1, Making It So by Patrick Stewart.
Oh.
Yes, that's right. Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This is his autobiography. And because I love his voice, I listened to the audiobook. And obviously the guy is a class A super actor. And so you just feel like he's acting a one-man play at you.
At you.
It's a total joy to listen to, and I recommend it. Yes, there is a lot of stuff about Star Trek and Picard, but he totally pulls you in just talking about the way he grew up in England and how he got into acting. I mean, it's just super, totally holds your attention. I am currently okay. So also, I would recommend an audio book version of this, which is "What a Fool Believes" by Michael McDonald, who with Paul Reiser, the comedian actor. Yes. Paul Reiser, they're friends, I guess. So I went back and forth between the book and the audiobook. And there are a couple little music breaks in the audiobook, which is cool too. So Michael McDonald, if you're not familiar with him, was a session musician and background vocalist for a lot of people, most famously Steely Dan, and then became one of the lead singers of the Doobie Brothers, which he still is 50 years later. So that's just kind of a fun 70s rock and roll kind of autobiography. The other nonfiction thing I would recommend, which it also is covering the 70s, is The Blues Brothers, An Epic Friendship, The Rise of Improv, and the Making of an American Film Classic by Daniel DeVise or Vise, I'm not really sure. But that is kind of covering exactly what it says in the title. It's about John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, but it's also about all the 70s improv groups that would turn into Saturday Night Live and SCTV and National Lampoon and movies like Animal House and Vacation and the Blues Brothers and whatever. And it's also a lot about the music and the drug culture of those times as well. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I recommend it. And then fiction-wise, I wanted to... did you check out the TV show called Shard Lake on Disney Plus? Did you see that?
I've never even heard of it.
Okay. So it was this miniseries that was on Disney Plus. It just dropped a few weeks ago. And it's based on the first book of a 7-book series called the Shard Lake series, which is basically about this guy who is a lawyer in medieval England. It's during the time of Henry VIII. And he winds up kind of having to solve mysteries as part of what he's doing with his clients. And they're all bound up in all of the religious conflicts of the time. And there's all kinds of stuff about class and gender, but it's really kind of about how everyday people really lived during this time. It's not all royals and bodice ripping kind of thing, which I know can be fun too. But this is different. So if you're interested in and the guy who wrote this book series has a PhD in history and also a law degree. So he knows whereof he speaks, and they're just really compelling. They're good on their own as mysteries, but they're also great historical fiction if you're interested in those kinds of things. Okay. So then the other things are this one recommended by my daughter, Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. She recommended it when we finished watching the new live action show, and it's about exactly what it says. So if you're an Airbender person, it's a good book. And then lastly, The Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. I'm sorry if I butchered that, translated by Jesse Kirkwood. This is a really short book, and every chapter in it is really a different story. But the gist is this man and his daughter run what is essentially like an unmarked, awesome food place where people come in and they can't remember a dish or they don't know how to make it that really meant a lot to them from something that happened in their life. And so they tell the father and daughter who are running this place, kind of about the memory and what it's associated with and sort of what the dish was about. And then these two people go out and do all this research and try to track down the exact ingredients from the exact place where the person must have eaten it. And then they recreate the dish. And so inevitably the person comes in the end and they taste it and all of these great memories come back to them. So it's just sort of delightful and sweet, but it also tells you a lot about Japanese food and culture. And so it's just really cool. It's like a big bestseller there. And the first book has been translated here. The second book is being translated now. So that's my recent list. All good stuff.
Wow. I don't think I've had a guest that has had like more than one or two. So thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying all the stuff I've read recently that I didn't like that much, but all these things
Yeah. No,
I
I
can,
try not to recommend, or I say it and I'm like, maybe don't
yeah.
read it. For me, I will recommend if you are an educator and you are teaching writing, which I think that everyone should be aware of how to properly teach writing to your students and implement it in your class, no matter the subject matter. But that was my final course in grad school, and I really appreciate it. And it was also the most difficult for me in how to translate what I was learning to the Latin classroom. But I'm always up for a challenge. So, The Writing Rope, a framework for explicit writing instruction in all subjects by Joan Sedita. Teaching Writing Well, how to assess writing, invigorate instruction, and rethink revision by Ruth Cullum, and Best Practices in Writing by Steve Graham. So all of those are great. And it's not just, I mean, there are some like philosophical topics and things like that, but also really practical things and actual like sheets that they can give you to figure out how to, like activities and things like that. So I recommend that.
So are these like, because you're giving sort of iterative writing assignments that you're seeing different drafts of, and so you can guide them along the way? Or is it just like how to, on one specific discrete assignment, how to set out questions for students and your expectations of what their writing should contain?
Both.
Or can you give
Both.
me? Okay.
So it would help you through all grade levels. So this is not just upper, but lower as well. And I think would also be helpful for higher education. So, for example, I joked about that person who's writing the Wikipedia and that, hey, we could make those complex sentences. So there would be activities like that. Like, how do you teach someone to make complex sentences? And then there would be activities like if you're talking about different genres or modes of writing, actually starting from the like explaining it. Let's do planning. Let's have model texts, like how to use model text to actually teach them. Like if you have a Hemingway, section or something, you're trying to teach something very specific, actually look at, I don't know why I pulled him out because I despise him, but just like, you would use that to model that and then say, okay, let's do what he was doing and write it. And then go through, all the layers, like the planning, the actual writing, revision, all that stuff. So I've come up with some good, because I brought in other assignments that I'd used for Latin class and like, okay, how can I change what I was doing? Like, for example, I usually do a unit on the underworld and we read different excerpts like Virgil I'd bring in or Ovid talking about it. And I would also bring in C.S. Lewis with his discussion on the Gray Town in The Great Divorce. And then I thought, okay, what if I bring in a modern tale with Percy Jackson and how that's presented? And I usually just have discussions on how the underworld in different cultures is described. And so now I've added a writing assignment called My Personal Underworld. And it's a descriptive piece where the students would choose a place that they just don't like. And so they're describing it using all their senses. And those would be the model texts, of course, that we've had discussions, we've worked with them, we read them. So something like that. So yeah, it really helped me because I like to write, but I always assumed that the students already knew how to write because I was teaching 8th graders and up. Right. Well, I'd be like, well, they're doing this in English class. Why do I need to be like, this is how you write a persuasive essay? But now I recognize you really should assume nothing. And so just being better about that and setting them up better. And I usually have a short essay on all of my assessments that's dealing with culture somehow. So having better prep at that. And also, I think understanding where they are by using like pre-assessments and just getting to know like their writing styles. Because I don't typically do a lot of formal writing, but now I can bring in more of that and get to know them. So I really liked that. That was an elective. So I really wanted to figure out how to do writing better because I do a lot of writing in AP. And so I'll be teaching 1 through 5 at the new school. And I'll definitely be having some written assignments in the upper levels because that's like the best way to discuss some of these authors that we're doing. So something you might like, Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe takes place in the 50s, Chinese American, kind of the height of McCarthyism. There's a lot going on, but she's also discovering her sexuality. And the Telegraph Club is a gay club. There's a male impersonator there, and that this like young lady finds a clipping of, and she's like becomes slightly obsessed, and like then she finally goes. There's more that goes on, but Tom recommended it to me, and it was really good. Paper Towns. I didn't hate it, but I didn't care for it as much. But definitely, that's going to be our next required reading with Tom and Stella, so you can listen to that. And then Eurydice, which is a play by Sarah Rule. I thought that was pretty good. It was an interesting interpretation. And then a book that's the N-word. It is an autobiography by Dick Gregory, who was a comedian. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was interesting / sad to read about his life. But that's what it's called. I liked the inscription. It was dedicated to his mother. And it says, basically, Mom, if you hear the N-word, it's publicity for my book, which I thought was really cute. But he does talk about that. Yeah, and I didn't realize, he was involved in civil rights and everything. So it was really interesting. So those are all of mine. Any final thoughts? How can we promote you and your rise to political power? When are you going to announce your candidacy for the presidency of the United States?
Yeah, well, it is hard to get on the ballot in all 50 states. No, I don't have anything in particular that I'm not writing a book right now.
Oh,
I know, right? I'm taking a little break. So I don't really have anything to talk about.
Well, do you have, yes?
Wait, I did think of a thing. So I have been, I have a relationship with the gang at the Talking Comics podcast. And so a couple of them and I are irregularly discussing Doctor Who.
Oh, who's it?
So that's in the Talking Comics feed. Yeah, so we are talking about the new shows that are just starting with shooting Gatwa, but we're also going to do one episode each on all the old doctors. Starting with the first Doctor from the 1960s and going through. So for those of you who aren't sure where to start or what those older shows are like, you could be on the lookout for specials about the first Doctor, the second Doctor, the third Doctor, etc. We've only done the first Doctor so far and talked about a couple of the new ones. So the second Doctor we'll do shortly.
Okay. There is I don't know if I sent it to you, but I really like Princess Weeks on YouTube, and she did a video on the Beer Maiden that I guess she was black. I call her Beer Maiden, the companion.
Oh, okay. The companion.
Yeah.
The newest companion is not.
No, she would have been. I think she was with Matt.
With Matt's, are you talking? I mean, there was. Well, I mean, there was a companion named Bill.
I can't remember what her name was.
Was with Peter Capaldi's doctor. There was
more than one black companion. I'm surprised. Wow.
Yeah, one with David Tennant.
Your boyfriend. Let me pull it up so now that I can properly publicize it, because I know nothing about who's it's, what's it's, but I will.
That's why I'm trying to help educate the people.
I know, but it's just too overwhelming.
That's why we're doing it. That is the point.
Martha Jones.
Yeah, Martha Jones.
Martha Jones Deserve Better and Other Correct Doctor Who Takes is the video.
That is correct. I totally agree with that. But I do usually agree with Princess Weeks.
Do you like her as well?
Yeah, I don't, but I'm less a YouTube person and more, does she still write for the Mary Sue?
I think she might, but maybe infrequently. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely read some of her stuff there.
Yeah. That's all I know about the Who's It's, What's It's. But you and Shagalicious, you're in good company. Have you ever met Shag?
I think we were together on an anniversary show of yours, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well,
but I don't think I don't know if we did video. That might have been the audio days long ago.
So long ago.
Yeah.
You said you're not writing, but do you have thoughts about another book? Okay, so you think you're done?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's something I have to think about. I mean, there was definitely a period in between when I used to write about like gender and law, and when I started to write about gender and comics. Like there was a period in between where I was like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing next. But that's when I became like the director of the women's center at my school, and I was doing all this like uh, anti-violence work
Yeah.
and workshops and things like that. So like that kind of filled that middle part, and then I kind of stumbled across doing what I have been doing. So I feel like I'm in this other period where I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep writing about this kind of stuff or do something else. It's an odd feeling. But I am spending more time on my classes and things.
That's
So.
good. Yeah. And then you get some high marks on ratemyprofessor.com.
Oh, I have not lately,
Oh no.
from what I've heard.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. Oh dear. Do you think you have a chili pepper there?
I did used to have a chili pepper.
I'm so glad you know about this. Oh
When
man.
people try to inform me, because sometimes it's like, like sometimes I'll have a student who will be more annoyed than I might get because they'll be like, this person on Rate My Professor said you don't review, but you do. I'm like, yeah, that's annoying. This person said you're an unfair grader, but you're actually not. I'm like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take that stuff with a grain of salt for sure. So,
Yeah.
well, unless
So,
it's me, maybe I'm going on there and review bombing you.
right. So be careful out there,
Yeah,
students who are relying on Rate My Professor. Sometimes the things are
yeah, misleading.
actually incorrect.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. It was
Thank you
brief.
for having me. I'm glad we could talk for these 5 hours or
It was
whatever.
not, it was not, but
No? Are you sure?
it was
Okay.
70% your fault and 30% mine. Remember that you can send any questions or comments to backrolltoracle@jbound.com. Would you like to share your email, or do you just want me to field emails and send it your way?
That's fine. I mean, if anyone did want to get hold of me directly, my school email is Cocca, so my last name and first initial, COCCAC at oldwestbury.edu.
And she will, if you ask her, she'll send you a signed photograph. Like the show on Facebook or follow it on Twitter at BackrollOracle. Subscribe to the show on YouTube for an uncut version and also with images. Follow the Batman Universe on Facebook and Twitter as well. And support the Batman Universe by subscribing to patreon.com. And of course, once again, thanks to Mile High Comics for sponsoring Backroll Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast. Please let me know if you agree with me that we should probably exile Donovan Morgan Grant and any other Batman apologist. Listen, I'm just trying to make the world a better place. Okay. And until next time. Oh, next time, let me tell you, I'm moving next month. So you can expect a lickety split episode with one issue of Birds of Prey. One issue, as long as there are no philosophical things I need to, I'm sure I'm going to field a bunch of problematic issues from Donovan after this. So I'll have to talk about that. But then just one issue. So it might be like 30 minutes. Wouldn't that be lovely? It's happened before. And then that'll be the last one in this this landscape. I have this poster that I'm super excited to put up, but I don't know where I'm going to put it. Do you remember this? I'm sure you would have seen it. It was probably early 2000s. All of these DC female characters, all in white, in like,
Yes.
yes, I have that poster, and I've
It's
been
nice.
waiting to frame it and put it up, and so that might be my new backdrop. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but yeah. So until then, until next time.
Fly on, Babs lovers.
Yay.
Just plain Barbara Gordon, masquerading for a lark as she rides into the night on her special Batgirl cycle. Who knows? Is the dynamic duo destined to become the triumphant trio? Only time will tell us more about this dazzling daredoll.
I love a happy ending, don't you?